those watching at home. Please stand up and join me for the flag salute. Okay, this meeting is being televised and recorded for the transcription of the minutes. At this time, speakers wishing to address the board this evening should turn in the completed speaker card to the board secretary. Trustee Barbara, any action was taken in closed session? No action taken in closed session. Great, thank you. I need approval of the agenda for tonight. Motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Okay, speakers wishing to address the board on items on the agenda may complete the speaker's card and submit them to the board secretary. Speakers addressing specific items on the agenda will have the opportunity to address the board at the time of the agenda item in the meeting. If you are addressing the board on a non-agenda item, please be aware the provisions of the Brown Act prohibits the board from acting or discussing such matters at this meeting. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, per topic, and 20 minutes per agenda item. MEF, MEA, CSEA, members of the community. Okay, I guess no comments tonight. All right, next would be trustee communications and comments. So there's a lot to share, so I'm gonna give you guys a start, but there's a lot going on at the school site, so anybody would like to start? Go ahead.
Just wanted to give a shout out to Taylor Middle School. I attended their production this last weekend, and the students were amazing. I mean, all aspects of the production were so well done. The costumes, the stage crew, the direction, the acting, the singing. It was just so wonderful to watch. I really, really enjoyed myself. So they did a great job, and I'm looking forward to seeing more coming from the Taylor kids because they were just wonderful. I also wanted just to comment on it being our Staff Appreciation Week. I'm just very proud of all of our teachers and staff, all the educators that are here in Millbrae that are so dedicated to our students, and that's apparent in every shape, form that you see them on the schools and around this community. We are so fortunate to have the people working for us and doing such a wonderful job for our students, and I just want to wish them best wishes for this wonderful week. I wish it happened more often than just once a year, but this is just a great time to celebrate all of our wonderful educators. That's all I have.
Let's see, I guess we're getting toward the end of the year. And it was wonderful to stop by some of the school's open houses. I was at Spring Valleys last week, and it was always fun to go see former teachers and former staff that are there. It was a walk down memory lane to see some of the original projects that our kids would always work on. But I have to say, it was super crowded, buzzing, the excitement was there. The kids and the families, I loved watching the kids always tour their parents around and show them all the different things that they're working on. I was so impressed with how even little kindergartners could do that. It was just so cute. And it is Staff Appreciation Week, and I know we're gonna go in and have a big official staff appreciation comment, but I did wanna say that nothing is possible in terms of what we do without the staff. And, you know, staff are the most important folks that make our everyday go smoothly and actually impact our kids on a daily basis. So thank you to our teachers and to our staff for always just doing what you do and the excellence that you show our kids. And then I guess it's just the end of year. This is our last meeting in this room for the end of this year, and it's incredible how fast the year has flown by. I think it's been a pretty fantastic year. And I'm just wishing everybody a good push, happy push to the end of the actual school year. And we'll see you guys all at promotions.
Thank you. Trustee Fraria.
So again, The open houses were amazing. I was able to get to Spring Valley, to Lamita Park, and some of the displays were like outrageously sophisticated. And it was fun to catch up with staffing and to see kids that I haven't seen in a long time. So when we think about what staff does and we're thinking about staff appreciation, you know, our staff is the front line. You know, we're back here. And what you do every day in front of students deserves to be celebrated more than just once a year. Staff appreciation should be every day, and I'm sure you're appreciated by all the people, by the kids, and by the parents all the time. The other thing I just wanted to mention is that the Rotary Staff Appreciation, Teacher Appreciation Luncheon is tomorrow. And I never miss that, or the Student Appreciation. So kudos to Rotary for always recognizing our teachers, our students, and then also the volunteers will be at the end of the month. So that's something to look forward to.
Thank you. Trustee Barbara.
Very exciting to be around the schools, to see all the kids at the end of the year and all the projects that they work on. The excitement, the energy in each classroom. I wish I had more time to go to all the classrooms, but we just don't have that much time. It's like an hour. And we're in and we're out the door really quick. And so that's a real special time at the end of the year. It's for us to go in and see what the kids are doing. You know, it's a great energy booster, I know, for me. And now we have Taylor coming up. The middle school's coming up soon. The promotion is coming up in a couple of weeks. And so the Lions Club will be there. We'll be doing their pancake breakfast. And I got to get with the principals. I know they're in the room right now, and talk about the logistics and what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and when we're going to do it, the time and everything. So just want to solidify that before I go into the Lions Club tomorrow and let them know what we have to do, you know, to make this a great event. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to the Taylor school, you know, to watch the performance. I had a couple of commitments on Saturday and Sunday. They're actually First Holy Communions that my wife and I had to go to, so we missed the Taylor project, you know, the theater. That's about it. You know, it's great to have the principals here. That's special. We know, because we have principals sitting here, right here, we know how special principals are and how much work that they have to do and the responsibilities. Yeah, what are we saying?
Past principal right there,
Yeah, you know,
on both sides.
we have principals here, we have teachers here, we have PTA parents here, we have PTA presidents here on the board. So it's special for me, at least. I know for everybody else too, to have everyone in a room, you know, and to see everybody, you know, live. So that's all I have.
Great. Thank you for that. All right, they chucked everything off my list, but anyway, great. I just want to give a shout out to Taylor. The music concert, the play was amazing. I was hooked. I went there for a few minutes and I got hooked watching it. I couldn't stop. The open houses are amazing. Again, as always, when I was a PTA president, my favorite part of being a PTA president was a week of Teacher Appreciation Week, because I think every day we had a certain something for the teachers. So again, no matter how much lunches or gifts or flowers we give you, the work that you do, it's just not, it doesn't match how much we can give you. So a huge thank you and shout out for all the teachers and staff and our principals. It's a team effort. So again, a thank you is never enough, but you know, we try. Anyway, I just want to share something. Last week, I had the pleasure to go to the San Mateo County for the Sustainable and Climate Ready Schools award ceremony, and I want to give a shout out to Green Hills for getting the award for saving the raindrops. And I'm hoping that that we were able to expand that at the school sites. I hear Taylor's going to get that going next year. And Taylor for lowering our carbon footprint. Ms. Drutz was there, so a huge shout out to our schools, hoping that the programs that we start that we can actually, this week is going to be the award, Kent Award at the San Mateo County. It's something that we can probably share with the county, and other schools can, kind of continue the work that we do here at Taylor. So congratulations. I think that's it. Next is superintendent update.
All right, hold on. All right, thank you. As everyone has already mentioned, we are celebrating Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. So we are so blessed to have our Millbrae staff who are here every day for our students. And we also know that typically the way to the staff's heart is through your stomachs, because when we look at the week of events, it's often filled with a lot of fun and delicious treats. So as has been already mentioned, the Rotary Luncheon honoring teachers is tomorrow, and we just want you to have a good week and feel appreciated. It is May. We often refer to it as the 100 days of May. If you want to fill your calendar, there's plenty of different things that you can do in May. So, next slide, please. On the week of April 21st, it was actually April 22nd, it was officially Earth Day, but there were a lot of things that we did to celebrate Earth Day and Arbor Day. I couldn't fit that many pictures on here. I want to also thank our school sites as well as our maintenance and operations team who really helped with these efforts. On the left-hand side, you could see a picture of Green Hills, and they have a brand new tree that's planted. Is that out in front of school, Principal Dees? Yep. And then actually this, originally, if you look on the right side, this is kind of near, the Shea Center, and there are a whole bunch of holes dug, and now trees that are planted. So it looks beautiful. Rudy sent me this picture, and I just want to also thank the city of Millbrae who partnered with us to donate the trees. All right, and then really Special Olympics at Taylor. Shout out to the special education team and Taylor, because I know it was a ton of work. This was the first year ever that we hosted Special Olympics at Taylor. We are in a collaborative with 3 other school districts, so Burlingame, Hillsborough, and San Mateo Foster City School District. And on April 16th, they hosted the track event. And it just was a team effort. I think it was a wonderful event that just really showed the power of inclusion as well as the leadership skills of our students who really helped to put this on. And we have a fun video to show you because Rudy, that's his side project. And actually, it's really funny. Some of the students, they were most excited about seeing the drone flying. They're like, look, there's a drone. But anyway, so quick 3-minute video that we think is worth the time. So here we go.
Show me you ready for the greatest moment of your entire life. Are you ready? Oh, just do your best. Cause this is where we show the world we shine a light. I feel strong, set my goals. Cause I know I can do anything you do, but I gotta work harder. Cause I was searching, but now I find you. So I'm making a move, I got to do, got something to prove. Are you ready? Show me you ready for the greatest moment of your entire life. Are you ready? Oh, just do your best. Cause this is where we show the world we shine a light. Cause I won't get up, I got too much to prove. No yourself. I mean, the spirit you got inside yourself. Unbeatable, untold, competing with one goal. We seen it unfold. I'm saying, look back, smile at where you find yourself. Hold up, hold up. Are you ready? Show me you ready for the greatest moment of your entire life. Are you ready? Oh, just do your best. 'Cause this is where we show the world we shine a light. Are you ready? Show me you ready for the greatest moment of your entire life. Are you ready? Oh, just do your best. 'Cause this is where we show the world we shine a light. 'Cause I won't get up, I got too much to prove. No, I won't get up, I got too much to lose. 'Cause I won't get up, I got too much to prove. No, I won't get up, I got too much to lose. Are you ready? Are you ready? Oh. Are you ready? 'Cause this is where we show the world we shine a light. Are you ready?
Thank you. That's it for my report this evening.
Thank you. A shout out to Rudy as well. He always it loves doing those videos. Okay, next on the agenda, presentations. The first one is the school plan for student achievement, SPSAs. I'm assuming
I'll
Catherine.
start by introducing this because we have lots of people here tonight for our SPSA. So SPSA stands for School Plan of Student Achievement. It kind of goes along with our LCAP. And so we are going to invite our Director of Ed Services, Catherine Waslov, as well as all of our principals up. Do we want them up at the same time or how are we? Do you have any thoughts on that? All right, Team Belbray, here we go. The SPSAs do have multiple goals that follow our LCAP. So our LCAP has 4 goals of literacy, academic achievement, SEL, as well as EL. Typically for our presentations, it would be too much to focus on all 4. So tonight, this evening, we're really gonna put the focus on literacy. Ms. Waslov will start with discussing district efforts on literacy, and then each principal will kind of highlight what their goal and action is. Later on in district business, we will ask for you to approve the SPSAs, but right now is just the presentation.
Testing, there we go. It's on. Okay, well, here we go. Good evening, President Musa, Vice President Chin, trustees, Superintendent Hickey, CBO Miss Mary Paulette, Cabinet, distinguished friends, Happy Hall, and everyone watching at home. This evening, I have the honor to kick off the single plans for student achievement, specifically focusing on our literacy goals. MESD LCAP Goal 1 is driven by high-quality literacy instruction for all students. In the primary grades, we're specifically focusing on the structured literacy block, which includes phonics, phonological awareness, fluency, comprehension, and we're going to be measuring it with our local and state assessments. Our goal is to increase proficiency levels each year. How are we going to do that? It's driven by some district literacy actions, and I'm going to list them. They're in these categories here. So this year, professional learning consisted of a real focus on the science of reading. So we're really looking at Tier 1 instruction, specifically making sure that we're building accessibility, equitability, and effective literacy instruction for all our students. This coming school year, we're partnering with the San Mateo County Office of Education to bring in UDL, which is Universal Design for Learning, principles that we're gonna layer on top of that in Tier 1. Specifically looking at curriculum, this year we piloted Hegarty for phonological awareness, and I'm really thrilled that we're gonna be looking at Foundations by Wilson, which is a phonics program at Lamita Park. This coming school year, we're gonna start this summer at our Bliss, our Big Lift Inspiring Summers. Turning our attention to assessment, while the DRA, which has been proven as our, our standard, I'm looking at Trustee Beltrami, because I'm sure she goes back in time with the developmental reading assessment has been our gold standard. However, this year, with the big lift, we had the opportunity to get to a little bit more of a granular level with FastBridge, and then we all know the story of how we're adopting the reading difficulty screener. So we're pivoting once again to M-Class Dibbles, and we're going to go deeper, pinpointing specific reading skills for students in literacy. And then finally, our extended learning opportunities. We have, as you know, TK and K after-school support across our district for our youngest learners. We also are offering some summer programs. So again, Bliss, Summer Academy, and I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention Taylor Summer Bridge, which, my apologies, Taylor, I did not include that here. But so that is, those are our overall district literacy actions that are gonna get us to that goal 1 of increasing our literacy student outcomes across our district. And now I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Principal Dees at Green Hills.
Thank you, Catherine. What's really something interesting that I want to highlight and lead into with all of my esteemed colleagues is while we were working on these slides, there were so many common threads. So there's so many wonderful, powerful best practices at the schools. So you're going to see a lot of overlap. So as you can read it, I'm just going to highlight some of the things that we feel are unique at Green Hills. As you can see, we want to increase our reading by 5% based on the CASP. Our next, as you can see, we have a couple things down. I highlighted in our board presentation a few months ago that we have a great literacy week following up with March Madness. We do have a leveled school library, which Jen Hoskins, when she was at Green Hills, provided that. So children can go into the libraries and pick something that is at or above their level, and they do that frequently. You'll see in the next slide, we have a little library in a friendship corner out on campus, where it's one of those borrowing libraries that we try to restock regularly, and it can be read during recess or lunch or just a little break outside. We have grade level buddies and activities, mostly kindergarten, first grade with an upper grade student. They do activities as well as reading buddies. We always have access to our digital libraries through platforms like Epic. And then we've also joined in with some other schools having a seasonal San Mateo County Library satellite. Marcia came and recycled through today. So children and teachers have an opportunity to select books themes. It was Poetry Month, or whether it's, we had Earth Day, so there are lots of Earth books last month. So I just got back from outdoor ed today, so I haven't seen the new collection in the library. But here's just a little picture of our reading buddies, like I spoke, the little library. The vocabulary parade is part of our literacy week. Little kids have big words, and they're really proud to march those around the campus, and it is parents are welcome and invited to come. And just to highlight the impact, the positive impact that our reading intervention teachers have. Here's Miss Carolina Orlando with some of our second grade students. So thank you. Omida.
So this year has been very exciting with having the big lift come in and really support our literacy. And so I've set the goal for 10%, but I would not be surprised with all the hard work of the teachers and staff if we surpass that goal. So I won't repeat some of the things that were already spoken about, but recently we had training for Dibbles, so we're shifting from FastBridge to Dibbles. And the platform, as I had spoken to some of the teachers about, seems a lot more accessible. Easier to read, easier for students to read. So I'm excited about that change. We provide targeted instruction through funding the reading teachers. And with the data, we meet as a team and we take a look and we see MTSS teams and SSTs, what other supports we can provide to help students improve their reading levels. I know we've discussed extended day, which is amazing after school. Hegarty phonics for the teachers, so it's really great to see the students knowing what to do and they're really increasing their phonics skills through the daily practice. And so we also have our classroom libraries funded, and we are, like I said, integrating the big lift for K-3, and next year we will be focusing on English language learners. So that's going to be really exciting. Okay, Meadows. Oh, sorry. Oh, yes. So, so just seeing the excitement for students for reading, you could see the buddies in the first picture on the left. And then there's also the listening stations as well. We have one of our intervention paras working one-to-one with one of our English language learners, Mrs. Madrano, who was the teacher of the year for, and so she's just amazing. You walk through and the students know what to do and they're ready to go. And Mrs. Hernandez, who will be honoring tomorrow. And then you just see, that's Kathy Zavaletta's class, students going and grabbing, they know all the dots that they're leveled readers and just really being excited about that. All right, now Meadows.
At Meadows, we are looking to focus on our science of reading instructional practices. Is it this one or that? This one? Either? Okay. And so we're hoping to grow our students in at least 85% of our students reading at or above benchmark, and then really looking if they're not achieving at or above benchmark, our team really wanted to commit to seeing that proficiency level grow and increase. So there's progress happening, and of course we would like it to be accelerated, right, for those students who are behind. And so our actions all follow important strands within the science of reading. So over half of our primary teachers opted to pilot the Haggerty phonemic awareness instructional routines, and we look to increase that number for next year, and that aligns with the best practices for explicit instruction in phonological awareness. And of course, we know that fostering a love of literacy and creating engaged readers and writers is crucial. So at Meadows, we promote positive reading experiences by engaging all students in principal-led Book of the Month readings and activities, and students utilize our comfortable and inviting Book Nook. And I think I showed you pictures of that last time around when I was here for our school spotlight, but here we kind of focused our pictures on our Tier 2 supports, which is our reading intervention teacher, as well as some of our classroom and afternoon intervention groups for our lower grades. By dedicating time for teachers to examine data, our team ensures that instruction is data informed and that targeted interventions are based on identified needs. And our Tier 2 supports include reading intervention teacher, Susan Black, and our afternoon kindergarten literacy groups.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So for Spring Valley, we're doing something very similar to the rest of the elementaries. So for our student population by June 2025, we want to increase our 63% that existing students who are meeting or exceeding standards to 68%. And what we're doing is we want to already use the common formative assessment to help identify students who are at risk for their reading goals. So this is done through first our professional learning teams. Teachers and their PLTs, they're using the existing formative assessments, and they're trying to see which students are exceeding, meeting, or approaching standards. And from there, they would like to use the existing curriculum, such as also with the support of IXL and also AR to see and help the students' needs. We're also continuing our Book of the Month. I know at my school spotlight, we talked about a library resurgence as well. And then also we wanted to get the students more involved by acknowledging where they're at and giving them AR level expectations to constantly meet and possibly exceed. So for example, in the pictures right over here, we have our library time. So now that the library is up and running, every single class almost twice a week has a dedicated library time with a parent volunteer. Up there is a certificate. It's a congratulations. So we do this at the end of every trimester. We try to acknowledge every single student that has met or exceeded their AR score for the trimester. So far, we have up to 3 students that have reached 1,000 points. So it's a huge honor for them. I always say that, hey, they have access to the Spring Valley Clubhouse. They're like, where's the clubhouse? I said, you'll see it, don't worry about it. So, and then afterwards, we also have the Spring Valley Book Club as well. So this is actually student started and organized, and they meet once a trimester to all read, obviously, a book, and they have a discussion, all student-led by our student body officers. So in this picture right here, they were discussing, I believe, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And then last but not least, I was able to catch our students using IXL to help support their reading as well in class. So what we're trying to do here is really utilize our library, our students, so they're also a part of our literacy goal. So I'm gonna hand it over now to Aaron Zlatinich for Taylor.
Thank you. Taylor's literacy goal, as you see, states that all students will demonstrate at least one level of growth and proficiency for English language arts as measured by the trimester assessments. We're looking at those STAR data results. And to support this goal, we've taken several actions. Each Thursday, our teachers engage in collaborative discussions during their dedicated team time. We are fortunate to have that built into our schedule, focusing on strategies to improve student outcomes. One area of emphasis is vocabulary development, as we recognize that expanding students' vocabulary enhances their ability to decode unfamiliar words, improve comprehension, support spelling complex words, and benefits our multilingual learners by deepening their understanding of word structure and meaning. Additionally, our teachers provide regular opportunities for students to read aloud. Oral reading, I don't know that you'll see it in these pictures, but oral reading is known to improve fluency, strengthen comprehension, boost confidence, and encourage greater practice. To support this, we implement strategies like repeated readings, partner reading, and choral readings. We also offer a dedicated reading intervention class for our 6th grade students who cycle in and out of their elective wheel. Currently, about 10 students are enrolled, and the teacher provides targeted one-on-one and small group instruction tailored to each student's specific needs. As a result of these efforts, many of our students have made at least 1 year's growth in literacy, and we're proud of their progress and the dedication of our staff. We look forward to continuing our work to further strengthen literacy skills and support every student on their path to success. And in these pictures, you'll see some of our reading intervention sessions and a gallery walk as students peruse through books to select. Middle school students are not as easy to get on camera.
Right. Well, thank you, team. Somehow I ended up here alone without my team. Team, want to come back up in case there's any questions? Okay. All right.
Great. Thank you for a great presentation. I'm going to open it up to the board if you have any comments, questions.
Thank you for the presentation. That was really informative. I really just wanted to comment on the common strand that you all have about using data to really identify what's needed in struggling readers. And it's very evident that you all are collaborating together, so you're bringing those best practices to your site. So thank you very much for a great presentation.
Any other comments?
Yeah, great presentation. I just wanted to comment on Hagerty. I'm so thrilled that that came to Millbrae because I see it happening in a lot of the primary classrooms, and it seems to be well received by staff and the students. So for that 15 minutes in the morning, it's amazing what a difference that makes. So Superintendent, thank you so much for bringing that to us.
Yes, and I just want to add on to what you were saying, Trustee Ferrario, that I just recently sent out another invitation to all TK to 2nd grade teachers that are listening out there at home. I know you're tuning in tonight. That we are hoping to expand Hagerty to many more of our TK to 2nd grade classrooms. And so I'm really going to be relying on our teachers that are currently implementing it to talk it up and to, you know, and I think the data will speak for itself, right? The results. So, but anyway, yeah, so it's timely that you mentioned that, and we are expanding. We're looking to expand and take our show on the road, so.
Okay. You have a question? Okay, go ahead.
So I heard so much tonight. I mean, just in such a short amount of time, collaboration with teachers, I love it. Rewarding students, you know, the super reader of the month, you know, things like that. So it was really nice to hear all the schools and every little different. It was a little different, you know, in each school. I heard a little bit of a message, a different message, you know, from each principal. But I really feel good about this reading program. I mean, having kids, we know that when you can't read, you can't learn. So this is so key. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Well, and I think thank you to Interim Superintendent Skelly and Superintendent Hickey for bringing the big lift to our school district, because it is a big lift. It's a lot of work. I'm not going to not say it's not a lot of work, but I believe in the message, and I believe in the work we're doing, and I'm looking forward to some increased student outcomes and literacy across our school sites. So.
No, thank you for that presentation. I love the intentional focus on actually increasing our literacy, but I also really love just the sort of unintentional additional touch points in which kids can access reading, whether it's the little libraries or even opening up our new libraries. I just think that bringing it back where books are just, a part of their sort of everyday routine of where they can kind of grab a new one and have that interest, I think is always nice to have that just sort of organic kind of feel, and bringing back reading where it's old school, and I appreciate an actual book versus every other screen that all the kids are accessing. So I appreciate that we're bringing back some of those like informal touch points. So thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. I guess I have a question and a comment. So my question was what Trustee Chin was mentioning. Are kids kids are reading the books, actual books, or are they reading it on their tablets? And
Yeah, I can speak to what I know just from visiting the school sites is that, now that Spring Valley has a refurbished library, Meadows has the Reading Nook, I know that we've purchased books for Green Hills and Lamita Park. There's classroom libraries, even though there may not be a central library at every single school site.
Yeah.
There is a lot of access, and I know for Taylor as well. So we have physical books in the hands of our students, which is so important.
good. I guess my question is, another question is, most kids that don't have any learning disabilities or anything like that, reading might be difficult, So I'm just wondering, what do we do for those kids? And then how are we, for the kids that love to read, will read all summer and read books, but the ones that are struggle during the summer, to them it's like a relief for not having to read books. But what do we do during the summer? Are we planning for anything for them to kind of, as teachers, assigning assignments, reading, like maybe incentives, give away, like stuff for them to continue engaging in reading for the ones that are struggling and the other students? Just
Yeah, and I think, I can speak to, I myself was, I wouldn't necessarily frame it as a struggling reader. I was a reluctant reader. I didn't love reading, but once I found, the infamous Judy Blume, I just took off, I have to say, Are You There, God Is Me, Margaret was my favorite of all time. But I think it's finding an author, finding a genre, if you will, and I think the exposure that we provide to our students is so important. It's also the tier 2 interventions that Dr. Janine spoke to that are happening and also across all of our school sites. With our amazing, remarkable reading specialists, they're helping to support our struggling and reluctant readers. But I'm glad you asked that question, because we just organized across Millbrae our Millbrae Summer Reading Challenge. So Marcia from the Millbrae Library will be coming out to visit all the school sites, Taylor included, and to give away books and to inspire our students, to challenge them to read this summer. So that's something that we definitely have in the works. We also have iExcel, and I know that Christina, Dr. Passmore, is going to be doing a parent night for her special education families, specifically highlighting the summer opportunities that iExcel provides for students. So that's in the works, as well as my ongoing conversations with Ryan from iExcel to talk about what teachers can do on the back end of iExcel to set it up for students over the summer, because they'll have access all summer to iExcel. So we have a few things in the works to sort of help support, our students that might not want to spend their summers reading, but we're going to encourage them to do so.
yeah, that's great to hear. That's awesome news. So I'm glad to hear that. Anyway, thank you for a great presentation.
Thank you.
Ms. Wassel thinks she's sitting back down, but only for a minute. Thank you for all of our principals. And because it is so busy, I did tell them that they could sneak out if they wanted to
Okay, Catherine. You're a busy lady tonight, Catherine.
But Ms. Wassel gets to stay and come back up.
All right, next presentation is elementary math adoption. So
Yeah, so here we're going to invite, no, we're going to invite Ms. Wassel back up just to kind of talk through the process of the pilot committee for elementary math adoption. And then we also do have a recommendation to the board tonight that will come later in the district business, but you'll hear about it in the presentation tonight.
All right, well, good evening again, President Musa, Vice President Chin, trustees, Superintendent Hickey, CBO, cabinet, friends and family, colleagues. This evening, I have the pleasure of speaking to our math adoption, spoiler alert, it's McGraw-Hill. Sorry, I shouldn't have put that on there. But so tonight's presentation is going to provide an overview of the curriculum adoption process and highlight how the recommended program that we selected aligns with our district's LCAP goals. Specifically, our focus on equity, academic excellence, high quality, inclusive instruction for all our students. And I just want to just do a quick reminder that our Eureka math was adopted in the year 2017-18. So it's about an 8-year cycle for the adoption process. And thank you, Linda, for looking that up for us. So I want to begin by giving a shout out to our amazing math pilot team. Without them, none of this could have happened. They are the professionals that were collaborating, evaluating our 2 programs, Illustrative Math and McGraw-Hill. Their feedback was instrumental in making this recommendation this evening, and I just want to thank them for shaping the future of our math instruction here in Millbrae. So I'm going to mention every single name. From Green Hills, Jackie Garduno, and I apologize if I do any mispronunciations. Maureen Bradshaw, Roger Takuchi. From Meadows, Jen Colombo, Tina Green, Emma Ulfengren, Natalie Butrago, who is here tonight to present, Sarah Pack, and Nick Lowe. From Lamita Park, Kathy Zavaleta, Sohaila Hernandez, Courtney Madrana, Tagreed Shamia, Kelly Azorio, Annie Montesinos, and from Spring Valley, Jen Ryan, who is here tonight to present, and Fanny Lamb. So again, my heartfelt gratitude to our Millbrae math pilot team. So you always want to begin with a why. Simon Sinek reminds us, one of my favorite speakers, that we begin with a why. So why a new math adoption? Well, as I mentioned, 2017 and 18 was the last. That was a Eureka adoption. But however, I want to go back to the math framework, which began in 2023. The State Board of Education adopted this new framework that concluded a multi-year effort with public feedback, multiple iterations, and a renewed focus on equity and excellence. While this framework is not necessarily a mandate, it is a powerful guide in influencing our instructional practices, our professional development, and adoption across our state. So, as you know, I love quotes. And I found this quote from one of my heroes, Linda Darling Hammond, president of the California State Board of Education. She specifically calls out that California continues and remains performing below the national average in mathematics, and that this is an area of great need and change is imperative. The same old will not get us to a new place. So you may be wondering, I didn't specifically list the data, but the National Assessment of Educational Progress, otherwise known as NAEP, has California coming in below the national average at 230. The national average for 4th graders is 236. 8th graders, 270, and the national average is 274. So California still remains below the national average in mathematics achievement. So when we look at the overall data, this beautiful, reminds me of a beach ball. Sorry about the colors, it's quite bright. It doesn't tell the whole story, right? It tells part of the story. So we have, it looks okay. 62.6% of our students here in Millbrae are meeting and or exceeding the standard in math. However, when you look at our significant subgroups, it tells a different story, right? That green and yellow or gold shrunk quite a bit. So we see our special education students at 19.3% that met or exceeded, our under-resourced students at 44.4%, and our Hispanic subgroup at 25.6%. This is simply not okay. We need to increase our achievement in our significant subgroups. And I do believe that we have selected the correct math curriculum that will provide that equity and access to our students. So, how did we get here? I love this timeline. I worked a long time on this timeline to get those colors right. From exploration to recommendation. This was a 2-year, as our math pilot team can attest, a 2-year venture. In 23-24, we all went to the county office and we looked at curriculum. And we thought, oh, this won't take too long. You know, as Principal Meadows, I was like, we're gonna work through this. We're gonna get a curriculum and we're gonna move forward. Well, little did we know that the new framework came out right during that time, right? And so we paused, kind of took some time to rethink our pilot, and we came back together 24-25 school year. And I remember sitting in H7 and we looked at what Taylor had as their math curriculum, and I remember Superintendent Hickey saying, one of them is gonna be illustrative because we wanna create that alignment, right? It's a possibility. And then we explored other curricula. And we launched the illustrative pilot in August, and then in January, McGraw-Hill was selected as our pilot. And here we are in May with our vote. So, I referred to that new math framework, and I want to just kind of go over for you what those big shifts are and how we specifically wanted to find a curriculum that would align to those big shifts. So, memorization to making meaning. It's almost like the shifts to the Common Core State Standards again, right? If you remember back when that was implemented, it was from rote to more meaning making, very similar in our new framework. From tracked pathways to high quality access for all. Culturally neutral to identity affirming and relevant content. From procedure to conceptual understanding. From test-centric focus to more growth-focused. So, at this time, I would like to invite Ms. Jen Ryan to come and talk about her experience with illustrative and outline some of those areas of growth and challenge.
We can talk about challenge. Good evening. I teach first grade, for those of you who don't know, and we started out the year, I told my parents and I told my students that we were lucky and we were going to get to try out 2 brand new math programs, and we would help decide what we were going to use for future first graders. And so they bought into the beginning, from the beginning, and they felt like, oh, okay, and they thought they had all this power. So every time they saw something wrong or right, like we had to write it down because we had to tell the publishers that this is what was going on. So we are very deep into it. So some feedback that we had, my class and as the pilot team, some of the strengths that we found were the student engagement piece. For those of you familiar with Eureka Math, it was pretty much words on a page and then a lot of blank space for the kids to just have to make their own pictures and problem solving, and there weren't any sentence frames or those kind of things. And illustrative math did have that area. So it engaged the students a lot more. There were materials, so there were manipulatives. Eureka Math did not have manipulatives, so the teachers were kind of on their own to get manipulatives, gather things, research. There were digital tools and access pieces that back in 2017 we didn't have as much access as we do now. So a lot of the new math programs have that. So illustrative had a very strong digital tool and access. There were assessment and learning outcomes where the students could take paper pencil tests or they could take online testing. So those were a lot of the strengths in this first program. The areas that we found for needed growth were there weren't a lot of practice. So it was one problem, maybe 2, 3, and then they moved on to the next concept. So there weren't a lot of problems for each lesson. There weren't a lot of resources and homework. So the teachers were on their own still to find resources and homework and things to copy. And moving on to the next part with the materials, there was a lot of demand from the teachers to prep. I can personally attest to spending 2 hours having to prep my math for the week. And I'm no new teacher, so for me to have to spend that amount of time to prep, not lesson plan, prepping actual materials was a lot. And so that was a huge drawback. There were technology barriers. Jeff will talk to that later, but there were technology barriers that we came up to with our technology and being able to navigate it as teachers. There were also assumed levels of knowledge that our students were coming in with that our students, quite frankly, didn't have based on their Eureka Math base that they had coming in. And so now I can talk about what my, so I also did interview my students knowing I was going to be talking about the illustrative math. So I asked them exactly how they felt about the illustrative math. Their dislikes were, there was a full page in each chapter for notes, and they said, "Who thinks first graders take notes?" Those were their exact words. I said, well, you know what? I will write that down and tell the board. There were pictures, but there weren't pictures with people in them. So they kind of had an issue when they said, Bob goes to the store to buy some apples, and there was no Bob. So they were, the other thing is they had a lot of true false questions. So do you agree? Do you disagree? And they had this cute little thumbs up, thumbs down thing. The kids were highly offended by that. They said, we know how to write yes or no, and we know how to read yes or no. So why would they be putting the thumbs up here? And I said, well, you know what? I will write that down. So those were their top 3 issues that they had with their program. But like, I didn't think of it that way. I thought, well, you know, but to hear it from the kids and if the students were bothered enough by it, that could be something that could be like, well, I'm not going to be as engaged or I'm not going to be as excited to learn this lesson if they have the big thumbs up. I can stay here. We have reveal comments, but I'm going to let Natalie speak to reveal first. Here, I can do that. Here, I'll do that part for you.
All right, so I'm talking about, you can explore, and so these are the ones I actually write in, so you'll see my writing in some of them as well. So yes, for the strengths for McGraw-Hill, so the reveal math curriculum, especially going from IM until reveal, there was definitely a big sense of like student engagement as well, that real world connection. Each unit starts with a character that the students can then relate to real life jobs, such as an architect or that designs really unique structures. And we could then explore that. They have like a video, and the kids would really draw in. They would ask me like, let's look this up, and they'll relate it to the later units. They also provide, besides the character, also real life people, give them a backstory of how when they were a student, this is what they were interested in, and how it then became a career. So that was definitely, I think, a very strong piece in creating that engagement for students. The differentiation, in one of the reveal books, there's a student or a teacher resource that has a spiral reveal. So after you teach a lesson, there's opportunity for spiral reveal to, review, as well as a review of just the lesson, and then also extension. So for every lesson, you have these 3 options to do small groups. So I know one of our third grade teachers, each time she would make the copies and pull a small group to work on these different areas depending on the students and what they needed based off of their exit tickets, which we call lesson checks. The curriculum design, I've noticed with both curriculums, they always start with a be curious warm-up. So there's a lot of space for the kids to have discussion. So this is something that we did not have with Eureka. We went straight into each lesson, right, straight into the curriculum. Here, every time there is a be curious, or as you see, if I am a warm-up, that gets kids looking at maybe a picture. There's no math problem. They're asking you, what are you noticing? What would you ask? Like, where's the math in this picture? What are you observing? So it gives opportunity for kids to then explore that and really come up with, again, just all these new ideas that perhaps we haven't explored. And as the year went on, the kids became more comfortable writing down these ideas, sharing with peers as well, and then sharing out loud with the class. And then the curriculum itself, from there, leads into different options for teachers to choose a guided or a direct lesson going straight into it, or a more exploration base where the slides you can use, or in the student textbook, you can provide a problem where, again, students are kind of almost going blindly into the lesson, but it gives them that opportunity to think for themselves before you give them the, aha, actually, what you said was right on, and then here is our lesson, and you could pull from, again, what the kids are, again, developing on their own. And then from there, the students have a guided practice that you could do whole class, small group, and then a practice additionally, where again, they could do small group individually. And there's another resource in there. We have a student book on there. I wrote in big letters homework. So we had, again, additional practice that the kids, when maybe we're doing small groups or kids are finished with their practice, they could go on to those, it's called extra practice, but we use it as in-class or homework pages to continue practicing. So again, there was, just a ton of materials for the students to keep practicing these skills. Hands-on collaborative learning, so I kind of mentioned that as well. There's just a lot of opportunities for the kids to discuss, to explore together. The assessment and the progress monitoring. So the exit tickets, again, are called lesson checks, and each time students have the opportunity to complete either on paper or online for their lesson checks or daily lesson checks, as well as the unit assessments. And the units are a little bit shorter, so you have more frequent assessments as opposed to Eureka, where we had like a mid-module after 8-10 lessons, and then a end module. So they do sometimes chunk them a little bit smaller, so we have more frequent assessments. And as I've been exploring the technology side of it, there's opportunities for kids to take it not just one time, but a second chance and a third chance. And I think that actually has been, once I discovered that option, it actually has helped students, especially those who are speeding through their work, students who are not showing their work. I give them like, okay, so we got 1 out of 4. Let's give it another go, and maybe at that point, maybe we need to make sure we're using the textbook with us and helping us along. And they go back and they get a 4 out of 4 or 3 out of 4, but they succeed even more so. And then if they don't, it gives me more than, okay, this student needs even more hands-on practice of the lesson that we did. So the technology piece with assessment has been great, as well as the data that it provides. It has a grade book for the students, and we can see not only the percentage for the assignment, but as well as how they're doing throughout all the units. So the online piece, of course, there's some interface for areas of growth, but the grade book has been really nice. And this past year at our site, we tested out where I taught actually 2 different classes. So I actually got to teach math twice every day, and with that I've learned, it's a second group, but they always got it like a little bit smoother than the first. But it really allowed not only me, but even the 2 other teachers that I was working with, they got to see their student progress and assessment and their grades as well through their Clever app as well. And then let me jump on to areas of growth. So the content depth and lesson pacing, we did notice, again, we're only doing a pilot, but we felt that there perhaps wasn't, I don't know, almost like not enough curriculum, where sometimes we're going through a subject or a particular topic, such as multiplication, and we're only touching upon that skill in one lesson, where we felt that it needed more practice. So there was times that I would, okay, take this lesson and do it in 2 days, or bring some outside resources to make sure we really hone in on the skill. And then again, I mentioned the interface speed and navigation online platform. That was an area of need, but at our meetings, the team was actually really great in asking for that feedback. So I was able to email back and even hear from the other teachers of what they need to do and fix on their end. Hopefully, sooner than later, but they're working on that, hopefully, to look at. And then, so this one is the same. But going back to student practice and scaffolding, and of course, I think I mentioned there is a lot of the practice, but continuing again, making sure that at each level with the scaffolding that, that as we are at different sites and we all have different needs, we want to make sure that these resources are really, used, if that makes sense, and that we make use of all those resources, as well as in the actual teacher manuals. I feel like there were more opportunities to bring language of explaining, as opposed to like a basic, or if you look through the teacher manual, sometimes it could be a little bit basic, and they could, and then umph that, or I don't know, like umph it up for teachers as well. And then for the teacher support, teacher prep time, there were some comments, I believe, from teachers just, again, needing to make the extra copies. So, I mean, in more of a general needing to additional prep time. But overall, there was still a lot of materials to work with, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. You have a lot of good feedback to give. And Jen, would you like to continue with your student surveys and the?
So we saw similar things to what Natalie had mentioned. My students felt that the pictures in Reveal were much easier to understand. So they were simpler and kind of more to the point, and they went along with the words. They felt that Reveal was harder with more problems to practice so that they can learn more. So they felt that book. The pages were full of things. The other thing that was, that was really full of things, right? But one of their favorite parts was, as Natalie had mentioned, at the beginning of every lesson, there's this page called Be Curious. And it gives them a picture. One that we did this week had 3 different street signs. And it says, what do you notice? And what do you wonder? That's always the 2 questions. And so we've gone through it so many times now. I said, okay, we're going to do the what do you notice? And the kids will immediately say, I noticed that. I don't even have to prompt them anymore. They can turn and talk to each other. And the things that they come up with, I mean, some of the things I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, different shape, different color. One of the kids is like, well, that one doesn't have pointy corners. This one has they all have rounded, except this one. I was like, and then one I was like, well, one of them's higher up than the other. Okay. But then, too, I was able to, they practice it so much that I can now guide them and say, okay, remember we're talking about shapes. Tell me what you notice. And they were able to just jump right into it, where I don't think that previously we had that kind of out-of-the-box thinking for them. And everybody had a right answer. Like my kids who were working far below grade level, my kids who were working above grade level, this threw them for a loop. My kids who were constantly given that memorization, and I said to them, what do you think? And they're like, I don't know, picture of signs, what? And so it really kind of pushed them too. And I told the parents, I mean, this kind of pushes those kids to think differently. They also liked, there's a STEM page for the first grade books. I don't know if your books had that there's a STEM page. So it's how different careers use math in their jobs. And one of my kids now wants to be a civil engineer. He has decided, they talked about math and how you have to make roads. And so he is now using limited vocabulary, says, I want to be a civil engineer. I want to make roads. And I was like, okay, great. But so they just liked this one better. We did take a a closed-eye vote, as we do with the little kids. So I had them all close their eyes, and I said, let's raise our hands for which one. They voted, 8 of the 26 voted for IM math, and then 18 voted for reveal. And then I told them what I voted for, and they were all excited. They're like, we voted the same as the teachers? I said, yes, you did. Like, and so, like, I really feel that getting that kid buy-in, the students really feel like, you know, they were seeing things and that we were seeing, and they were enjoying it as much as we did. So, did you have any questions about the books? Sorry, we're not doing questions right now.
We can turn the order around. Don't go too far, there might be some questions. Okay, well, if the students like it, then we're all for it, right? And thank goodness that the teachers also really liked it, as you can see from our results here. So for each area below on the survey that we administered, we asked, you know, these questions. You know, weigh in, please, on student engagement, differentiation, accessibility, multilingual learner supports, inclusivity and cultural relevance, assessment and progress, and blue is McGraw-Hill and red is illustrative. So you can see the overall preponderance of evidence here suggests that McGraw-Hill is the way to go. And this is our overall result here, 81.3%, 18.8. And I should have waited till the following morning to print this because we did have one more teacher. The 17th teacher weighed in with McGraw-Hill as well. So our recommendation, as you can see from what we've shared this evening, is to go with McGraw-Hill. That's our recommendation to the board. And again, just to reinforce what our amazing teachers have mentioned, it's aligned to our framework. It's equity-focused, provides digital integration and accessibility with just a few tweaks here and there. We're going to get that fixed. It's teacher-friendly instructional support that's, again, aligned to the shifts, and it has high positive classroom engagement embedded. So this is Mary's area, but I will speak to the fact that although this might be a little bit of sticker shock, it is an 8-year, I want to remind you, adoption for a grand total of $450,000. Well, $450,639.12. However, I want to point out that it is far cheaper than the illustrative, which we got a quote for $618,000 and no cents. So it does bode well in terms of savings and cost effectiveness, right, CBO? It costs to educate, that's right. That's right. And I do want to say, that reminds me of something that our McGraw-Hill rep, Carolyn, although very eager to, of course, you know, win this contract with us, she did say it's the teachers that teach, not the textbooks. So there is no perfect curriculum out there, as you can see from what we shared this evening. There are still areas for growth with all curriculum, but it is, in our opinion, and our recommendation, going to meet the needs of our students here in Millbrae. So looking ahead, what do we have planned for the implementation of McGraw-Hill for your approval this evening? We have planned, with you, again, your approval, for August 12th, a 3-hour launch of McGraw-Hill, led by our McGraw-Hill curriculum specialists. And actually, one of our teachers in our pilot, Maureen Bradshaw from Green Hills, recommended at the last meeting that we spend about an hour of that 3 hours in grade level alike groups so that we can really talk about the specific needs of TKK, first and second and third through fifth. So I thought that was a fantastic idea, and I've already mentioned this to Carolyn, our rep from McGraw-Hill, and so she's going to be working on that, hopefully. We're going to be doing some in-person professional learning, some Zoom check-ins, so we'll have a little hybrid approach there. Classroom support and coaching and planning. So again, those PLTs are going to work together, hopefully vertically aligned as well, to really focus in on those essential standards that we've identified back in November. that we will be focusing on here with McGraw-Hill. And of course, we have embedded accommodations and planning tools specifically for our students with unique challenges. And that concludes our presentation this evening. Thank you for listening.
Great. Thank you for the presentation. I'm glad to see the first graders are getting involved in their education. So, I guess they don't like the. Okay, so if they're watching TV, let's not do this. Questions, colleagues? Oh, Frank Barbaro has a
Yeah,
comment.
I just wanted to say, I never dreamed that this would be such an interactive program for the kids. I mean, you know, one book had, Sally had 5 dots or 5 circles, and putting like personality like to the whole program. Like, yeah, it was. I never thought it would be this way. I mean, it actually looks fun to learn math. Yeah. Good. Nice presentation.
So August 12th is PD for all grade levels?
All.
Okay. And then you said something about classroom support and planning, so grade level teams. So that's just up to the individual site as to how, would that be during their collaboration time? Or I know PLCs, how would that look?
It could be during a staff meeting. We asked, that was part of our quote was included professional learning. I asked Carolyn, I said, you know, we don't want this one shot. You give us this professional learning on August 12th and then you go away and we never hear from you again, right? She's like, oh, no, we have a team here. And in fact, the day of the vote, we went to Spring Valley and visited Jen Ryan's class. And Carolyn brought one of her teacher colleagues that she taught with, who's actually a math coach. And so she promises that they will provide that ongoing support. Again, Zoom check-ins, in person. If a principal reaches out and says, you know, this particular grade level is struggling in this area, or just coming alongside and just to be there at a PLT meeting, whatever's needed throughout this year, we're gonna be providing that support.
And it also looks like your math pilot teams at each site are pretty robust. So there are staff members at each site that can be asked about
These are our leaders.
Yeah, so
They
that's
didn't know that
huge.
when they signed up, but they
So, thank you, that was great.
Just being, want to commend you on putting forward this adoption. Having done the Eureka Math adoption back in 17, 18 with Julie Constantino, I know how much work and effort and everything that goes into you know, looking at all of these different curriculums, coming up with the checks and balances, implementing it in the rooms, talking about it outside with your colleagues. I mean, it's a really big undertaking, bringing a new curriculum program to a school district. So I'm just really, really happy with everything and how thorough you went through all of the steps to make sure that you're choosing what you feel is best match for our students. I'm really impressed with the follow-up because I know you don't want to just drop a new program with teachers. You want to build in that support, that time that they can get together and meet and discuss what's going on. I love the idea of the grade level meeting at the PD time because that's really important that those teachers make those connections during the PD time so that if they have other questions, they can even go outside of their own schools and get those teacher leaders to give them feedback and advice on what's going to happen. So excellent job. I know the sticker price is really, I mean, you know, what we went through in 17, 18 is nothing compared to this, but it is a 8-year program with consumables. So those get brought in every year. So you're getting a lot of different books to go through this. It's not just they drop everything off and then that's gone for the rest of those 8 years. So I know that there's a lot of materials that will be coming in every year so that the children can actually do the work in the consumables and have new ones for the next year. So wonderful job. Excellent.
Thank you, trustee. And I just want to say that, I want to thank Superintendent Hickey for her foresight in helping us to identify those essential standards back in November, because now we have identified, by grade level, and I see in front of us opportunities to meet in vertically aligned teams, to really dig deep and look at those essential standards and identify some formative assessments in McGraw-Hill that'll help us, check for student understanding along the way, as well as summative. And so I think we just we're positioned really well to take on this new adoption. So, and thank you for your support of us.
No, thank you so much for the presentation. I really liked your process, and the comments from the students was especially cute, but actually very insightful. So I appreciated how thorough that process was. And it seems like it was definitely the clear winner. I like to think of it as tastes better and less calories, right? So, but I was kind of curious how it does differ from, I know it's different from Eureka, but just in terms of the, cost and also the implementation. Is this going to be a big shift? And, is it hard for the teachers to be able to kind of make that shift? And then also, I think about Taylor, which has illustrative math. How does it integrate as well? We had Eureka before, so I can't imagine it being any different from that standpoint. But is it something where we would consider having reveal for Taylor as well? Like, is there a schedule for when we would think about a math curriculum change there, and when?
Those are great questions. I would love to hand it off to Jen Ryan and or Natalie to speak more about that shift, but I think they alluded to it in their presentation that there were some areas in Eureka that perhaps didn't prepare our students to, it didn't have that launch, if you will, that excitement, right, of the students having that experience of turning and talking and having the oral vocabulary that they need, right, to express themselves. It didn't reach all levels too, right? I think Eureka, in my experience as a principal, was quite dry. I didn't see a lot of, like I said, the talking about the math, the writing about the math, the discussions robust, the hands-on. And so I think in that respect, it is a bit of a shift, but I'm happy that we started with illustrative because it had a lot more of that. And then McGraw-Hill, I think, was a little bit more of a balance between Eureka and illustrative, right? So I don't see it as an undertaking that's not possible with the skill level of our teachers. But again, I would defer to their presentations this evening for their, comments on that portion. In terms of Taylor and
I'm happy to take on that.
Their new adoption.
question
Yeah, I'm
about
not
Taylor.
quite sure where that's gonna
I
go.
think at this point, I think we have to see middle school mathematics as pretty different as well, because we do have single subject math teachers. The way they prepare for it is different. And so my philosophy has always been that, the adoption is a tool. It is the teachers. No curriculum is perfect. So at this point, I don't see, a major concern of having a K-5 and a 6-8, but it's certainly something we can have discussions in the future.
And Ms. Ryan just reminded me that our rep, Carolyn, who I keep referring to, she mentioned that for those classrooms that didn't, although we did have a robust team, right? We have classrooms that didn't pilot illustrative and or reveal, right? So there's gonna be some bridge curriculum that we can bring in to kind of, whet their appetite, get them accustomed to the reveal way, if you will, so.
Well, I just want to piggyback on Trustee Chen's question. When Eureka was adopted in 1718, we were parents and we had kids in school. And the transition was hard on the kids, but it was harder on the parents. Because when we adopted Eureka Math, as a parent, trying to help our kids with homework was, a lot of us struggled, I think, back then. And it was very different, taught differently. So I just, that's something that we need to figure out how to help our parents help their kids at home. So I know we struggled a lot, and until this day, I mean, your Eureka Math was not really a well-liked program. I don't know. That's just from the parents that I knew at the time. So I just think about the parents having an understanding about the switch and how does that work.
We have definitely some opportunities for some parent ed nights, right? Some parent engagement evenings that we can plan as an ed services team. And I think Ms. Ryan said she had some ideas.
Okay.
So Carolyn and I became really tight over the over the thing because I was constantly emailing her. But I did mention that some of the ways that we were doing things that our parents, especially those parents who are English language learners, may not know how to do things the way that we're doing things. So I had talked about maybe having like a QR code video for the lessons or for the homework when we send home the homework, having just a QR code where the parents could just zap it and they could see like a little video. She's like, oh my gosh, that's an amazing idea. We'll work on doing something. So I think they're trying to, that's the nice thing about having the pilot before it's done, that they were really open to listening to what we had to say and developing something like that so our parents could have access. Like for Eureka, that would have been amazing to have that so the parents wouldn't have all those questions. And so to have that QR code for parents to just scan and be able to even just see the video, even if they don't understand it, to see like, this is how I'm supposed to be doing it with my student would be helpful.
And speaking about this, so they do have the videos that the teachers can assign to the students. So on their Clever platform, if the parents or the teachers do assign it, it is there for them to look, not just as a whole class, but yeah, making it accessible, like easy access, as well as if you look through the curriculum, what's different as well as previously with Eureka, when you had the student book, it was strictly, just the work that the student was doing. So if in class, if the student wasn't paying attention, didn't feel, there was no example to even base off of. What's nice about even with the student book and the extra practice, as well as the other pages that can be printed, they always have a half page of what is the vocabulary, so highlighted vocabulary, the expectation of the steps, and then again, spelled out before they go on to the problem. So if students are simply just taking home the book, parents can get essentially a visual mini lesson by looking at the see like, oh, okay, when they're asking us to draw this, like a line or array, and we don't know those vocabulary words, they would have that shown on the page itself. So it doesn't have to be like a second resource. It would be right in the student's hands, essentially.
We have that too. The first grade book has that same thing. At the beginning of every lesson, there's a big thing with vocabulary words, how to do it, so that the parents could see it.
She mentioned they were tight, but I think there was a little bit of recruitment going on there. I don't know. I heard some like, you want to come work? No, I'm just kidding. Yes, to have it. The visuals are so important. Yeah, definitely.
All right, I think we've asked you enough questions for the night. Thank you for a great
All right.
presentation,
I'm happy to give
a
this
lot of
microphone to Happy
information.
Hall. Are you guys next back there?
Yes, I think they're getting very antsy. Anyway, that is an action item. We'll think about it.
Thank you
Thank
to
you.
Jen Ryan and Natalie Butrago for being here tonight.
Okay, I know Happy Hall is being very antsy. Happy Hall, after-school education and safety and expanded learning opportunities presentation.
Yeah, we're excited to have our huge Happy Hall team. I don't know if you're all coming up or just a few of you coming up, but thank you. We have Taylor and Rachel coming up, and Marita? No, okay.
We have Taylor and Rachel coming up. So hi, everybody. We were not antsy. We're just a little bit fidgety by nature. We work with children. So good to see you all again. To reintroduce myself, I'm Taylor. I'm Director of Operations of Happy Hall Schools.
Rachel Heck, Executive Director, and also former student at Lamita Park and Taylor Middle School.
All right, and then we have Marina, who's our director at Meadows, and Tiffany, who is our director at Green Hills. So today we're just gonna give you a little bit of an overview of some data that we've collected from the past year at doing the expanded learning Opportunities Program. So a little bit of history about us. We have been on site at Millbrae Elementary School since 1997, which is before I was born, actually, so a very long time. And as of 2023, that's when you all selected us to be the Expanded Learning Opportunities provider. So that means that we are on site doing before and after school programming at all of the sites, and a lot of the children are also eligible to attend free of cost. So expanded learning gives students more time to grow socially, emotionally, and academically in a safe, supportive environment. So we're looking to do learning that extends beyond the school day and complements it without replicating it. So this is before and after school, as well as intersession. So we have school and summer breaks. And it's learning that focuses on, again, academic, social, emotional, and physical development. We do this through hands-on engaging experiences. We do a lot of STEAM. We do a lot of social, emotional learning activities. We do a lot of movement activities and a lot of movement activities because they have a lot of energy at the end of the school day. And again, this is on site at all of the schools. So gonna run you through a little bit of demographics that we have at each of our school sites. So at Green Hills, we have Tiffany as our program director and Charisma as our lead teacher. They've actually both been there for around 4 years. We have 73 students there, and 37 of those students are attending at no cost or reduced rate. We have 8 staff members, and fun little statistic is that this year we've served over 11,000 snacks this year. And then last school year, we had very similar demographics. We had 77 students, but we did have less UPP, which is the no cost or reduced rate students. So we went up to 37 this school year. At Lomita Park, this is our largest program and is also funded by the ASES program. So all 143 students are attending free of cost. We have Desiree and Ariel as our leadership team on site there, with 14 staff members total. Again, 143 of those students are attending at no cost, and over 22,000 snacks served, which is super fun. Last year, we did have 112, so we did find a significant increase here, added more capacity to our groupings, and that's where our overall UPP number and overall enrollment number primarily went up from Lomita Park. At Meadows, we have Marina, who's been at Meadows for a very long time as well, and Emma, who's our lead teacher. We have 96 students there, 8 staff members. 37 of those students are attending at no cost or reduced rate. Over 15,000 snacks served, and this site does have the best snacks, I will say. That's all Marina's doing. And last year we had, again, very similar demographics. We had 95 students, 32 of them were UPP. At Spring Valley, we have Matt and Ray as our leadership team there. We have 89 students, 33 of them are attending at no cost or reduced rate. We have 8 staff members, over 14,000 snacks served. This is very, very similar from last year. Last year we had 89 students and just 1 more of them was UPP. Taylor is our smallest program, which is for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, but right now it's pretty much 6th and 7th. We don't find a lot of 8th graders want to take us up on it. To try to make it more of a mixed program, we actually, as Happy Hall gave scholarships to 5 previous attendees because ELO-P doesn't cover for 7th grade. So we're trying to make it a little bit more mixed and make it a little bit more balanced in that way. But we have Sydney and Bella on site at Taylor. We have 27 students, 18 of them are attending at no cost or reduced rates, and lots of snacks served there as well. They also do a lot of cooking because they're in the Scout House or the Community Youth Center, which has been amazing. Last year, similar demographics as well. Not much of a change there. So for all of the schools, we are serving a total of 428 students. 268 of them are attending at no cost or reduced rate, which is 63% total. We have 43 staff members, 4 of them are dedicated substitutes, and I think this is really cool. We're serving 30% of all of the Millbrae Elementary School students. So 30% of the school population is enrolled in Happy Hall, either before or after school, or both. 75% of our staff returned from 23-24 school year. And looking at last school year for the 23-24, we had 400 students, 221 UPP. So again, it stayed pretty similar, except for Lomita, in which we increased capacity. So we did some surveys this year. We did them last year as well, but we're gonna focus on this year. We surveyed the families, the students, and we did try to survey every student possible, so every student that was in attendance. We didn't random sample, and this was because we did want to hear from all of them what they liked, what they wanted to improve, which was some funny answers. We got like castles, requests for castles, and I think class pets, you know, dinosaurs, all that. So we surveyed the parents, the students, and the school staff, but we didn't quite get the engagement from the school staff. So what we asked the parents, we asked them how likely they are to refer other families to enroll with us. That's the NPS. We asked how they felt about quality of activities, about homework support, how they enjoy the staff interactions, and how they felt about safety. For the students, we asked them how much fun they're having, how much they feel like they're learning new and interesting things, how easy it is to make friends in the program, and what they thought about the teachers and staff. So we're gonna go through by site, and we don't have that much time from my understanding, so I am not gonna go through every single thing, but you guys all have it, it's all there. Generally, we're getting good results from Green Hills parents. We also are getting good results from the students. They think that they're having fun, they're learning, friendship, good results there. Specific feedback, this is the fun stuff to hear. On the parent side, parents feel that their children are safe and well cared for. There are a variety of activities, good ways to socialize, and generally enjoying the program. On the student side, we heard that Happy Hall is good, great, exciting. Teachers are really cool, everybody is kind, and the little kids are cool from a 5th grader, so that's good to hear. We also got feedback that Green Hills is the best Happy Hall, so I feel like that might be a theme going forward on the surveys, a little bit of competitiveness. And one of our TKers likes the carpet, whatever that means, so we love hearing that. From Lomita Park parents, again, similar responses across the board, generally pretty happy with the program. And then from our students, we feel that overall they are enjoying themselves, learning, friendship, and liking the staff. Parent feedback, they feel that we have great staff, and this is our favorite feedback to receive. Apparently their child gets upset if they ever have to pick up early, so they know that he enjoys being there. And while we don't like crying kids at the door, it's kind of a compliment, right? Like, it's good, we're like glad that they're happy to be there. And then from our students, the teachers are really kind, really nice. They help us on our stuff. The food is really good, very good service. I like the hot dogs. So, and that is your guys, the district is providing food, so good job on the hot dogs. All right. Meadows, again, similar across the board, generally happy with the program. And our students are also generally pretty satisfied with the program, feel like they're making friends. Specific feedback, again, our son enjoys Happy Hall and requests not to be picked up early. We like to hear it. Some compliments about the curriculum and just the environment in general. Our students say that they weren't kidding when they say it's happy. The staff couldn't be nicer, and this person wants us to know that they're in group 3, so very important. Moving on to Spring Valley. So Spring Valley parents, again, across the board, you guys have this data and can ask us questions at the end if you would like. And then our students are generally having fun, generally learning. Feedback, they like the care and attention they provide. Our children regularly talk about how much they love Happy Hall, where they get a blend of play and education. Student feedback, a kindergartner is telling us to tell our mom to sign up. All right, and then Taylor. So parent data, similar across the board. Student data, I have to point this out because this is like crazy. For the fun factor, for the amount of fun that they're having, they all said either tons of fun or it's okay, which if you know middle schoolers, like I think that's wild. Very good feedback from them on that. I'll take it for sure. Generally happy with the fun and inclusive environment. Adjustments are made based on student need and student feedback. I would recommend people to come here because it's fun and we get a lot of work done, which is good to hear. And that's that's a 7th grader. So good feedback there. Moving on to what we've kind of as a team and with the district decided are some really important elements to make sure that this runs smoothly. The first is a use of dedicated space. So this is really important for when children come in and they have a Happy Hall portable or a classroom or whatever it is, and they understand that they're now coming into the after school program. They have a routine, they have a dedicated space. We have chill zones for them to calm down. We have little workshop areas. That's super helpful. It's something that we're still working on with Lomita Park because it is such a small program and it is such a small school and such a large program. So that's something that we're hoping to see get a little bit easier in the future, but that's definitely a big part of what makes the program work. Collaboration with school principals and school staff, and I'm giving the presentation, so I can be a little bit biased, but I have to shout out Taylor staff. They are fantastic. From the principals, from the front office to the teachers, they are fantastic. And I was a director there, so that's why I'm being a little bit biased. But we've found that across the board, everybody has been really helpful and really accommodating and very just ready to support us in any way that they can, which has been great. Also, we've been using shared facilities like the MUR, the Blacktop, the library. This expands our options for activities, rainy days as well. We used to not be able to use the gym on the rainy day when we were a private program. It's so nice that they can go and get their energy out. Access to Chromebooks during homework time, and I know you guys all worked really hard on that to make that happen. We actually received specific student feedback from Taylor students in the surveys that they were really happy to be able to do their homework on their Chromebooks. So this has been really exciting. We are looking forward to next year hopefully implementing some more specific enrichment tools through the Chromebooks. And lastly, our parent communication via OneCourse. So this is our parent communication app. We send daily updates, we send incident reports, and we send all our activities that we do. So when we do a STEAM activity, we send it home, we send pictures. We also log homework time, we log lots of things, and we feel that families like it. They might get a lot of notifications sometimes, but we feel that overall they like it. So looking forward, we are excited to again be providing Camp Expanded Learning. So we're gonna take you to another presentation, which is about a little bit of a wrap up from last year, but also a preview of what we expect to do this summer and a little bit of what our programs actually look like. So this summer, again, we're gonna be providing the aftercare for Bliss, for Rising 4th and 5th, and for Taylor Bridge. So last year, we had some fun weekly themes. We tend to do themes throughout the entire school year and through summer. These were some of the ones that we had last year. I think Mini Game Madness in particular was really fun. A little bit loud here. So we did some outdoor enrichment. These are our movement games. It was summer, so we got to do a lot of fun water stuff, got to run around. We again find this structured outside time is really helpful.
Run, Jacob!
And we also have indoor enrichment. So this is their free time when they're not doing workshops. We do a lot of origami, puzzles, rainbow looms, scratch art, photography. Sometimes the kids will take selfies on the program phones, which is super fun. And then we did outdoor enrichment, we talked about, and then we have workshops. So this is our structured STEAM activities, our SEL.
Do you?
Right corner. Example, making a Lego maze.
Ooh, you guys have a lot.
Lots of workshops going on. Special Olympics. So this is an example of one. We had the bubble guy. Super fun. Came in, does lots of cool bubbles. Sometimes they do the giant bubbles that the kids can stand inside of, or the staff, if you're really nice. Sometimes I'll let you do it too. So kids generally really like that as well, and that's part of our outdoor fun Fridays is what we call them. So for our Taylor program, we did aftercare for the Taylor Bridge. Last year it was a really small program, not a lot decided to enroll, but that did mean they got to do some fun things. They got to take a field trip to Baskin Robbins, got to do some more like cool older kid type activities, which was great. So again, looking forward to this summer. We're excited to do the same thing and provide that aftercare and provide the Camp Expanded Learning, bring the camp experience to Millbrae, and also looking forward to next school year when we can keep continuing to provide expanded learning and do even more. So thank you for listening, and questions now, I believe.
Wow. Thank you for the presentation. A lot of great information. I'm going to open it up to my colleagues for comments or questions. Any questions, comments?
Yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Wow, you guys have really grown over the years. I mean, this presentation was great. I'm really taken back by this and all the things that you guys are doing now. And all the school's fantastic. So great presentation. Thank you so much for being here and being a partner with us. Thank you.
Thank you, so kind.
Yes. I've sung your praises over the years. And Happy Hall is amazing, and there's no doubt, no doubt as to why you've been here since 1997. I just had a couple questions. In terms of the surveys, it looks like you don't get a huge amount of people taking the survey. So you may want to give a little incentive to kids that bring back the survey.
We have a plan, if you want to hear it.
I'm all about incentives.
Students were good. We're getting pretty much everyone. That's why we hear about the castles and everything. But for the parents, we're going to try next year, if we get 80% of people filling it out, parents or families filling it out, then we'll give the kids like a pizza party or something really fun. So we think that that could be helpful. The school staff, we did get responses, not enough to include. So we do sometimes try to have the district send it out. Sometimes we send it out ourselves. I'm not sure exactly what incentives we can offer them. Maybe we can give them some cool stickers. If you have any thoughts, would love that, but we definitely want to get more.
Right, yeah. And I think, obviously, at Lomita Park, that's a huge challenge with that many students. And the space is, I mean, there's absolutely no space. So I guess looking forward to a school remodel, redo, is going to be really important in that area. And then maybe to have some really good conversations with the staff there to see how you really can improve that. Because I'm sure the staff, there's just not enough space. But maybe thinking outside the box, if you talk to the principal or some of the staff members, there may be a way that you can remedy some of that, because that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. So anyway, just a suggestion.
Yeah, I love that suggestion. We also are planning for that site in particular before the end of the school year to bring the teachers lunches and have like admin on site so they can talk to us, give us their feedback. I don't believe we'll be implementing it at the other sites, but I think that would be helpful so that hopefully going forward, the shared spaces can go a little bit smoother, just have more collaboration is the goal. So great idea.
I did just also want to mention, I think that we've done a good job in terms of setting up a kind of consistent meeting, monthly meeting between district staff and Happy Hall. And we've kind of worked through a lot of different things and created new systems together. So just wanted to mention that.
They've been fantastic, definitely.
I mean, I'll just say that I'm really so pleased to see how well you've integrated with all of the schools, and you really have become just an extension of our day for all of our school sites now, and that's really wonderful to see. I did have a question as to whether or not we have teachers that are doing academic work at all the school sites or just at Lomita Park. Is that still going on?
Just at
For
Lomita
tutoring?
Park.
Okay, and how is that going?
So I can't speak for what's happening. It's amazing that the kids are getting these small group opportunities. So I think the intention is amazing, and I'm sure that the kids are gaining from it. It's been a little bit of a struggle to share that time. So maybe the kids are in the middle of a STEAM project and they're getting pulled out for tutoring. And then also, as Lisa said, meeting once a month has been amazing. She's been able to bring feedback directly from some of the school supervisors, and it's possible that maybe next year we could even include them, like maybe a once a month speak with a different principal and really learn how we can partner better. But we are struggling a little bit. We know how important it is, so it's our job to figure out how to make it work. It's not something that we think should go away. I think, again, just more collaboration to make sure that we're not trying to provide academic time at the same time, and that kids are moving to and from tutoring in a safe and cohesive manner. So that's something that we're going to focus on a lot.
Thank you so much for the presentation. It sounds just like you did a job.
Thank you.
You went through that so well.
Yeah. Just one more thing. I understand about after school time as being a time when kids need the opportunity not to be tied to academics. And I know for some families, they want homework done before they come home, and I understand why certain schools may need that support, the tutoring. Totally get it. But I think as an after-school provider, You have to know what's developmentally appropriate for some of these kids. And I know you know that, and that's something that you struggle with because sometimes home and school want something a little bit different. So it's the conversations and the communications is key. But I totally understand where Happy Hall is with having that time where kids can be a little less structured academically.
Yeah, we like to call it structured chaos. It can get a little bit of loud, but that's intended. So I appreciate you acknowledging that. It's important that they get that opportunity to socialize, negotiate, work through issues. A lot of times they will carry maybe issues that happened during the school day that couldn't get addressed, and then they have time with their teachers to sort of walk through it. I also want to shout out to Connor, our intervention specialist, who does an amazing job of visiting all of our sites and getting to know the students that need that extra support, as well as Colleen Rocks, who is our director of programming. So she creates all of the fun, engaging curriculum. So it's not worksheets. They don't feel like they're being taught in a classroom setting. We're inviting them to do really fun workshops. And so hopefully they're not feeling like it's extremely academic, but they're learning. And then I also have to shout out Justin Jimeno, who manages the ELO-P program. He makes sure that we have the data that we need and that the parents are being communicated with, so he's really been a huge factor in making it successful. I did want to add that I'm thrilled that we're meeting a population that I was in when I was younger, free and reduced lunch, and that the great work that Marina has done since 1997 is now being introduced district-wide. So there's nobody that can't participate, and that's just been amazing. That's been really full circle for us, so we really appreciate that.
Great, thank you. I'm glad you brought up homework because I know the kids are having fun. It sounds like you're offering a lot of great opportunities for kids to enjoy. Instead of going home and sitting in front of the TV, they're actually being active, social, outside, and that's exactly what we want for our kids. Just not learning does not come from just a book and behind the desk. It's through play, and especially at a young age. But I'm just wondering, like in terms of parents, Trustee Ferrier mentioned, what, I mean, I don't know if you know the exact number, but how many, the kids that go home, do they still have to do a major amount of homework, or is it?
So it depends on the age. We typically try to limit it to an hour because we don't feel that kids in our program should be doing homework for an hour. Sometimes we'll have a 4th or 5th grade student that says, please, home is just not the place I want to do it. I want to get it done now, so we can try to be a little bit flexible. Okay. Having the Chromebooks has been amazing. So now they're able to complete a lot more work than previously they would have to go home and use a device at home. So that's been really good. And then the other thing I want to mention that ties into the earlier presentations is, as after-school providers that are doing homework, we also want the QR code and the videos to walk us through, because we've been through Eureka, we've been through all of those with you as parents, with the children. We have to learn it. We kind of get a little bit of an edge because we're on site and we can go knock on like Miss Ryan's door and say, okay, how do you do this? So we're looking forward to that.
Yes, that's a good point, Catherine. I think we need to connect our Happy Hall into the new math.
Yes,
adoption.
absolutely. And also, that's a great survey question for next year. So that sounds fantastic. I would like to know that as well. I think echoing what she said does depend on the grades. I know the middle schoolers are spending a lot of time doing homework in the program and hopefully doing less at home, but they're middle schoolers, so they do have more than like TK and K who get it done on Monday, every Monday.
Yeah.
And then I did want to mention one more data point. So we did combine for the parents survey results from the fall and spring, but we noticed a huge increase in satisfaction with homework support from parents in our latest survey. So I can't know exactly what to attribute that to, but it could be that like kids are with a new teacher, they're struggling, or maybe a lot of times it's parent expectation. They might think Happy Hall provides one-on-one tutoring, which we don't. And so it seems like by the time the spring comes around, they're really happy with the groove that their child has gotten into and like what they can expect when it comes to the homework support we can provide.
All right, well, thank you. Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you for a
everyone.
great presentation and continue doing amazing work for our children after school.
Thank you.
We have a lot of extra other business, so thank you all for coming, and we don't expect you to stay. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. Okay, consent agenda. I need a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. Okay. Motion carries. All right, next, district business. I guess, informational. Informational, Edu-Climber overview.
Yes, and so we purposely did not put this under presentation, so we're going to ask to kind of keep it brief. And I know you have a lot of slides, but I know that our trustees, most of them know what EduClimber is. So really kind of
Yes.
the focus on where we are, some of the challenges with the implementation, and when we can expect to have it moving forward. Thank you.
Yes, thank you
So,
for, yes.
Jeff Horn and Catherine Waslop.
I did want to point out that we tried our best to color coordinate tonight. Just great minds think alike, I guess.
Only Jeff.
Catherine walked up to me and was like, I'm glad you chose to wear that. And I was like, I didn't even know you had a shirt that color. Yeah, great minds think alike. Thank you for having us today about EduClimber. We're going to go through quick. I know that not all of you were here when we first talked about this, so we wanted to go through a couple quick slides about essentially what it is and why it's important, and then dive into some of the more difficult. The quote, learning from Director Waslip in terms of how a quote can really drive the presentation. I fully agree. Without data, you're just another person with an opinion. So EduClimber is there to help us with the data. The why of the switch. So we had Data Zone previously in the district. The decision was to switch to EduClimber for these main reasons. The biggest thing was the difficulty of accessing the data, not being able to visualize it, the difficulty of signing in, the whether you could trust it. Data Zone at times would say a student was at 2 different schools at the same time, which isn't true. And then we had a difficulty with synergy data running into Data Zone. And then the professional learning and the support from Data Zone. Data Zone is a platform that is managed and created by Santa Clara County Office of Education. So they're good, but they're not, the support isn't quite the same as an actual true company like EduClimber. EduClimber focuses on the data warehouse, that whole child profile. So the idea is here, you're looking at this student, Marcus, and on Marcus's page, you're seeing kind of everything data related with this student. So you're seeing their scores, you're seeing their attendance, you're seeing interventions or incidents that might have taken place with the student, you're seeing demographics data, you're seeing, in this case, you're seeing past years that you can go back, you're seeing tags that were maybe applied to the student that staff might have said, hey, this student, we need to make sure we're applying to this group so that they can get this targeted MTSS intervention. And then you can drill down and see specifics on that data as you go through. So how does it work? Again, it's kind of used for the triangulation, the aggregation, and the disaggregation of data. And if you're looking at it from different perspectives, if you're maybe a district school administrator, you want to see big picture. You want to see where can we make high impact changes? Are the results equitable? Where can we focus efforts? If you're on site as like a school psychologist, maybe you're looking at that saying, hey, should we continue, change, or fade this specific intervention for this specific student? So you're drilling down a little deeper, but you still have your caseload that you're specifically looking at. And then of course, are there any tier 1 academic needs? You're looking at it from that perspective. If you're the teacher perspective, again, that's where you're looking at Marcus, the student in your seat. Let me know more about Marcus in terms of the data, in terms of all the different parts that make up this student. So what are the whole child needs from my class? Which one of my students are getting back on track? Maybe which one requires more support in this specific area? And then again, you can go through, I'm not gonna talk about every individual slide, but again, the profile of the student, and then the interventions that can be applied and tracked. All the meetings can be tracked. You can develop an early warning system where you can have the system flag you and proactively say, hey, this student, pay attention to their attendance. We're noticing a trend. And the system can actually notice that and pop that up for you. Okay, I'm gonna hand it off.
Thank you. So again, the EduClimber improving student outcomes, the goal really is just that easy access. and data that can drive instruction. So looking at specifically streamline access to that assessment data, attendance for SST tracking purposes, that instructional decision-making on the spot, being able to take a look at who needs to be in my small group and, small group, whole group, individualized, so moving through the tiers. Again, real-time data to flexibly group students and just making sure that, again, it's being utilized to drive improved student outcomes. So our professional learning plan and our rollout, the EduClimber integration, we're partnering with EduClimber Renaissance to streamline how teachers view and analyze the data. Again, that includes all data, looking at the whole child profile. Ongoing professional learning, we're gonna embed that throughout the year, starting in the fall of 2025 with differentiated support. We envision going out to staff meetings, to PLT meetings, and really taking a look at how we can just roll out, EduClimber at each site with each instructional leader. Again, focusing on monitoring the interventions, the SST outcomes, making those data-driven decisions. The structures will be, again, in-person and virtual, and we hope for more on-site coaching and providing those data protocols that I've been sort of providing, via Google Drive, but really just having a set of data protocols that we can utilize alongside the EduClimber platform that can be used, district-wide as a system. And then just our implementation process, I guess we can sort of tag team this, but I don't think it's any secret that there's been some challenges in, our implementation. It's taken some time. Pulling data from Synergy has been, a challenge. Onboarding process with EduClimber has been, challenging. There's been several modules, several workshops that Jeff and I have attended. Delays in determining what information should or should not be included. And then just we have some tasks that still remain for us to move fully forward, with EduClimber is really validating the attendance data. I think I had shared with the board that I had pulled some data. I was very eager to take a look at the EduClimber platform, knowing that we had finished the attendance module. And I think Trustee Chin said, oh, there's a little bit of a decline here. Well, I mean, that was good and bad because our attendance rates were actually much higher than what EduClimber was indicating, although not so great because we want to be able to rely on the data in EduClimber. So that is still an area that we need to work on, confirming the demographic data, continuing to work on transferring from Synergy to EduClimber, and then our goal is officially rolling out in 25, 26, but I don't know, Director Horn, if you want to add on to some of the remaining tasks.
Yeah, well, I will say, yes, there are a few small things that are still coming. In terms of challenges, I personally feel like, and this is on me, that I let the system get stuck waiting for certain things to sync. And unfortunately, in some cases, those were things that we never would be able to sync that weren't unique to us, but we thought they were. And I feel like that was, in terms of the challenges for implementation, I actually feel like that was our biggest hiccup that I'm excited we're moving forward now. And I feel like we maybe held things up for things that weren't critical, that we felt were critical. And so I am excited with the renewed interest of Director Wasliff, working through all the workshops. We're able to really move along and get ready for the rollout, which I'm really excited about. One of the other plans that Director Wasliff and I had in terms of the implementation is a pilot over the summer with Bliss. So including our instructional coach, Jen Hoskins, who can then start pulling some of this data. Because at this point in time, although we know the attendance is not perfect, the students are in there. The data is in there. You can see scores for CAST for the last 3 years. You can see scores for LPAC for the last 3 years. You can see historical data on incidents that might have taken place with that student behavior. You can see FastBridge, you can see STAR Renaissance scores for math and writing. So there's a lot in there already. You can see a student field photo. And
Dibbles will be coming. We have the module there to upload.
yeah, so I'm excited that like this summer can be the start of the pilot with the official rollout coming in fall. And then opportunities ahead. You want it?
So again, we always want to end on a positive note. A lot of opportunities ahead for us with EduClimber. Again, those multiple data points, the collaboration, just the ease of collaboration. I mean, I've sat in, I don't know how many SSTs and or IEP meetings, right, where you're pulling data and this person says, oh, I have the reading scores, and this person, oh, I have the attendance scores. And, instead it's, wow, we just have it all right here on one slide, one page. So data at your fingertips, so lots of opportunities for the collaboration in a meaningful way. Building shared understanding around data. I think this is an opportunity for us to really move forward in the area of data-driven instruction. And then just, again, ongoing support that meets the needs of our staff, where they are. Not everybody feels that comfortable with data, right? So, but again, back to our quote, if you don't have it, it's just an opinion, right? So we really want to make sure that data is driving every decision that we make on multiple levels across our district.
And then you reminded me, the initial survey that came out when the consideration was happening to staff that said, hey, would you want to switch to a program like EduClimber? Are you using data zones? It was a 2-question survey, essentially said, are you using data zone now? And 75% of the people said no. And then a couple people said like sometimes, blah, blah, right? And then the second question was, would you use data to inform your teaching and learning if it was easy to get to and right in front of you? And again, 75% said yes. So I think there was a big why of why we switched to this. I'm excited that staff are gonna have access to these important metrics that are gonna help inform the teaching and learning to ultimately benefit our students and our district. So I am really excited about that.
This is totally off topic, but I just want to point out, in addition to you kind of twinning your outfits, you also match the presentation colors, so.
It was all part of the plan.
Yeah.
It was all planned out, right?
I think it's a year worth of really having this template. It's really ingrained in us now.
Well,
Can I just make a template comment, please? We didn't have much choice with the blue, I'll just tell you. Maybe next year Superintendent Hickey will let us go fully rogue and choose our backgrounds for our, I don't know. Okay, there you go.
Okay, maybe that's a sign, because we've been trying to get EduClimber into action, and it's not working out so far. So, but I'm glad that you're gonna pilot it in the summer. But I guess, thank you for giving us the overview and the reasons. You reminded me the reasons like 2 or 3 years ago when we decided to switch from data zone to this. That was the reason that the board was on board for it, because you have one place with all the data that you need, especially in IEPs and SSTs and stuff. But I guess our question is, what's taken so long, right? And why is it taking so much time putting all the information in? And so I'm just gonna open it up to my colleagues if you have any comments or questions about EduClimber. Go ahead.
So I just want to commend you on your honesty about the hiccups, Jeff, because we've been totally questioning you. And I appreciate that so much, because God only knows we all have hiccups, right? And knowing that it's something that you acknowledge, and now you're working together, and between the two of you, that's just perfect. That makes so much sense to me. The other thing I wanted to mention, synergy has always been a really negative. We've heard horrible things about synergy, and that no one had access. And when it went down, no one knew how to get it back up again, because only one person in the whole district had a code. And so it was like craziness. So I'm glad that EduClimber is going to be out there for everyone to use. And that's going to be worth waiting for, totally. My only concern might be that the fact that it took however long it took is will it have changed? And there might be a newer, more improved version of EduClimber going forward? I don't know, because everything gets outdated, right? So anyway, I just really appreciate your honesty and giving us all the information we need and just making sure that staff has one place and everyone has access to it. That's huge, huge for me. So thank you.
I'm so happy to hear this. Synergy was not working. We could go on and on about that, but it's great to see the teamwork and that we're upgrading our system now. Because man, we really need it. So kudos to both of you. Keep on going with it. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate the honesty, and I still don't have a great sense of whether we know exactly what needs to be done to complete the implementation from this so far, right? I feel like there's a good handle, but I don't, do you feel like you have every piece that you need, or are you still discovering what doesn't, what is gonna be a new challenge? And if you do know everything that needs to happen, do you have that timeline in place with the dates, responsibility in terms of who's been assigned, when it's gonna be done, and these deliverables, so that this pilot launches July or June or whenever the date is? I think it would be helpful, I don't know, Gantt charts, those kinds of things, if you've done them, and what it would take in order to get the 20 extra steps just to get you over the finish line, whether it's checking, the attendance data, confirming student number, who's doing it, and does it have to be done by May 15th or June 23rd, whatever it has to be, because I think to wait another year, I think it's been almost 2 years, because I remember approving this with 2 superintendents ago. So, I just want to ensure that when we say pilot to be launched this summer, that it's launched, and that there's no, oh, well, we didn't realize that there's actually this other step. Are we confident that we know what all the steps are at this point, and that we have a person assigned to complete it by a certain date, so that we have a launch date of X? What is our launch date?
I can answer. 100% fair, and yes, it's taken way too long. In terms of launch, I feel confident in saying it could launch today. It would be useful right now to a teacher. Would I drop that in May? No way. I know what it's like to be a teacher in May. That's a bad idea. But it could open up right now. You would be able to see accurate data on students. You would be able to see accurate data on assessments. You are still missing some key things. And sometimes I feel like I'm playing Pong between Synergy over here and EduClimber over here, bouncing back and forth. But we do have a couple key pieces that are missing on that next steps. So in terms of demographics, there are literally 4 columns on the spreadsheet that are not populating to EduClimber. They exist in Synergy. I know where they are. I can pull them. But we need Synergy to pull them and make it an automated nightly routine. So I'm working on that task with them. It's not always the fastest, but I have my tickets open. They respond back to me. I validate the file they sent me. I said, no, we actually need this primary ethnicity in this column, and then that one is actually where the state ethnicity code goes. So it's nitpicky stuff. Again, would the platform work today? Yes. Would the teacher still know the demographics data from Synergy in their teacher review? Yes. But we still want it in EduClimber. So in terms of our pilot over the summer, I'm excited that we will get feedback from a real user who knows what they need and how to get to it and can say, whoa, that makes sense. Or actually, I really want, is there a way to do this? And we can maybe solve some of those questions. EduClimber is a platform that's being used in several districts, even in the county around us. So I know it works. And there is not a new version, thank goodness. That's the bad thought. The version we have is still the very current version. It's an online platform that they're constantly making tweaks to in terms of usability. But we can also hear from staff hey, this is the workflow. We need to be able to do this. And then EduClimber can help us over the summer to provide that kind of data. In terms of attendance was one of the other things. They went through and reworked it. Director Wassoff and I looked at it. It doesn't look like it really changed much, so that's another thing we still have to work on. They suggested some alternates, ways to provide the data coming out of Synergy, but Synergy doesn't directly translate that data out. So it would be us pulling it and then inputting it into the platform on the side. It's a possibility, just not a super sustainable one. So we're trying to make sure that our processes are automated moving forward. And again, you don't stay stuck with one person who has to then pull that data who's on vacation, and all of a sudden we don't have that. So it's supposed to be the true nightly sync, automated, and then updated continuously.
Okay, so then my follow-up question is, are all of the things that we have to do to get it implemented in our control? Or are we waiting on somebody else, right?
No, they're not in our control. We had a conversation this evening because we were anticipating some questions about the obstacles that we faced, and quite frankly, they're not. We need to speak with Synergy. In fact, we have a contract with Synergy where we have 2 point people that can actually make the calls to Synergy. But I would like to sit down with Director Horn and call Synergy myself and, be the squeaky wheel and say, hey, listen, this has been 2 years now. These are the things we need, and we need them now. We need answers from you. Director Horn has mentioned that when you call Synergy technical support, you can't get a live person. You have to put in a ticket. You have to, leave a message. You have to wait for them to call you back. And it's just this constant, being put off. And so we need to get some answers, and we need those answers now, right? Because it's been,
Right.
I was, in my second year as principal at Meadows when I remember Director Brenner was introducing it. We were on Zoom. We were so excited. Oh my gosh, this is going to happen. And then nothing for almost 2 years, right? So we need to sit down with Synergy because that's the block, quite frankly. Full transparency. And I'm not trying to blame, a student information system. It is truly the block because we know what needs to happen, and Synergy is just not able to really collaborate with us in that way to make it happen in an expedient way.
Is that something that EduClimber can also help
That's
with
what
that?
yes, we actually had our last module with them, our last workshop was that very thing. These are the things we need from Synergy for integration purposes to make this really happen. And there was going to be a meeting of the minds, and then Synergy never did what they needed to do for EduClimber. So my thought is moving forward, I would like to have some conversations with EduClimber about other districts and how they've gone about it, because I know there's other districts out there that have Synergy and have EduClimber.
Right.
And so who do we need? Is there a point person? Is there someone I can go have coffee with and say, hey,
Well,
I'm
how
willing
much?
to drive to San Francisco on my way home and say, who do I need to speak with here,
Right.
So, yeah.
I don't know how much we're paying EduClimber. I cannot remember, sorry. But to me, I feel like EduClimber needs to help and step in because we're paying them for something that we can't fully utilize. It's great to have a database that just collects stuff, but that's not what that wasn't the intent,
Yes.
right? It's the intent to being able to use it to inform our teachers. And, I just think that there has to be something to kind of get past the roadblock. And I kind of would put it on EduClimber for being able to figure out how to work with Synergy together. But we do have to have a drop dead date, and I would like to know what that is. And then we have to push everybody toward it because, without having a drop dead date as to when to launch, we will just continue to have people not feel like they have to talk to each other, like Synergy, will just not get back to, oh, it's a ticket. I just feel like there needs to be some pressure on EduClimber and Synergy to be able to talk, and for us to sort of have that in our mind as far as yep, we are launching in June, and I don't care hell or high water,
And that's
it's happening.
what I'm hearing, is that it is there enough. It may have a couple missing points that we will definitely launch no matter what. And then I guess behind the scenes, we'll have to keep working on those few columns that are not populating. Right. Right.
It can be a phased rollout. We were talking about that earlier too. We'll try to work through some kinks, this summer with Bliss, right? But then I was mentioning to Director Horn that, you know, maybe our first phase is, okay, we have this data, this is clean, this is reliable, valid data. However, these are still some areas that, you know, are not so reliable. You know, you don't have the grades from elementary. You have grades from Taylor, but not report cards. That's still an area. Attendance, still an area. But we do have CASP, we do have LPAC, we do have FastBridge, we have DIBBLS, you know, we have ESGI, you know, so we have plethora of data there. It's just, these are still some areas that so it could be a phased rollout in that respect. But we are paying them, we want the
I don't want to
full
give them the out.
access to everything.
Right. I don't want to give them the out because I do think that it's great to have a phase launch, and this may be just my opinion, so, you know, obviously there's other board members up here. But I do think that it's important to, you know, have as much information as possible to use, but not to give them that out. Because it could be another year before we actually use it the way we intend to use it, right? That's just my personal opinion at this point, so.
And attendance is critical. It's a huge goal in our LPAP, our LCAP.
Right,
Too many
right.
acronyms, yeah.
And all the interventions and all of those
exactly.
ways of
Yeah,
informing people.
I just wanted to chime in. So full transparency, I was at the district office when we got Data Zone. I'm the one that really wanted to bring it to Millbrae, how many years ago it was, I think 8 years ago, because I saw a need for teachers to have access to the data in one spot for SSTs, IEPs, intervention, all of the things that teachers need to use. And I just kind of went through like post-trauma, as you were talking about your frustration with trying to get Synergy to talk to EduClimber, because that is exactly what was happening when we were bringing Data Zone here. Synergy was just so cumbersome. You weren't getting the uploads, talking with the Data Zone that we wanted to. So, I mean, we're talking 8 years ago this started, and it's still not really happening. And this is what I think we're talking about. We want our teachers, our principals, to be able to see data in a way that's going to be usable to move children forward to meet all the goals we are expecting them to meet. And so I can see the frustration, and I was just reliving the frustration again because it sounds like it's still happening of the same things that were going on all
like
those
deja
years
vu,
ago.
right?
Yeah, it was deja vu. It was like, oh my God, talking to Synergy, having the tickets. I mean, what you were explaining, I lived those same exact conversations. And yeah, so it's just to let you understand that this is something that is not just the last 3 years. It's been going on even longer than that because it seems to be, and maybe it is having outreach now that EduZone is in other districts to see what they can, EduClimber can, you know, what they can do to get Synergy to talk to them, since apparently it never worked with Data Zone. So
It never worked.
well,
So
it
you
worked
never-
in
you were
certain
never-
ways, because I remember going into Data Zone and being able to pull up student reports and use them for SSTs and parent information. When I had parent meetings, I would be able to pull up information. They had, you know, the state testing. Data Zone had a really hard time getting our local assessments on. We had attendance. You could pull up a kid and see where he was attendance-wise. So they had certain things that I was able to even use at that time. But we were still having not the full launch of all of the data points and the measures that were available to teachers. And teachers won't use something that's not going to be useful. So I'm not surprised that not many teachers were using Data Zone if it wasn't something that was going to be comprehensive and something that they could do at a one-stop shop. You know, they wanted to see everything.
And something you could trust. That's, yeah. I was
Right.
gonna say too,
So-
if you can't trust it, I'm not going to use that.
Right, and so I can understand totally why teachers weren't using that anymore. But I still think that we want this to happen
Well,
in
yeah,
our
that's
district.
my sort of
Yeah.
question.
I just wonder about the money part. I mean, we already paid for EduClimber, right? I mean, they got their money. What about Synergy? Are we paying, I mean, we've had it for so long. Do we pay so much a year?
We do.
Or,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so,
And we pay per integration. So this is considered an integration
Uh-huh.
with Synergy. So we pay them to set it up, and then we pay them ongoing to maintain it. So yes, there are real dollars involved in the both sides.
Yeah, I'm just thinking sometimes when you put a little money in front of it and say, look, you know, we're not going to do this any longer until we get some results. I don't know. I'm just,
System is vital, so it's not really something, I mean, and
can't hold out like that.
right.
Right. You have to
But
be
it
able
is
to have
being
access.
held in other places right now. This is more of a consolidator and an aggregator, correct? So I guess, I mean, with EduClimber, if it's never going to work the way it's supposed to work, then I would like to revisit whether or not we want to continue to pay for it, because everybody's using, like without, when people weren't using Data Zone, they were getting that student information from other places. And if they're doing the same thing with EduClimber and it's never going to work because Synergy's just never going to talk to EduClimber and it's another 5 years and we're like, yeah, it never really
Well,
worked.
I do think reassessing it at the, you know, so because we have it in a place where we can launch it, our teachers haven't had it, so at least this year, getting feedback and then kind of revisiting it in the spring of, or a year from now, it would be the right thing and if we want to continue that contract.
Right.
Okay, and how much, yeah. Right, because no one
What is
used it the last
Well,
time.
it sounds
What is
like
our
you've put
contract
a
number?
lot of effort into trying to bring it to actuality. I guess, is that a word? So kudos to you to keep with it, because seems like it's a very multifaceted problem that's not easy to solve, and there's a lot of work-throughs that are happening. So I'm really impressed that you're sticking with it, and I think with you on board, working together and trying to get synergy, I think we should see how it rolls out and reassess maybe next year at this time. See if we're able to get it implemented, see if the teachers are using it next year after you do the rollout and they're trained on how they can access the data, you know, because there's a lot, I mean, school psychologists, our resource teachers, our principals, there's going to be so many people who could benefit from pulling data from the system. It might be something in a year that's going to become very useful for everyone. So I think giving it a year to follow through, finish it out, and then reassess and see if it's really being used would be what I think we should go for right at this point. I don't think you guys are ready to scrap it at this point. That's my understanding.
Right.
You're almost there, so.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, okay.
I will say a blind spot for us has been especially CASP and LPAC. Although teachers are getting data from other things, pulling a STAR report here, getting this report over here from reading specialist, CASP and LPAC have been the one that is very hard to access as a teacher because Synergy has no way to input it. Ironically enough, Synergy has an amazingly easy integration with the state reports for parents and for students. They can see their score report, no problem. Teachers do not have access to that at all.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
It's really interesting.
Well, we used to go to the CUMES and pull
Correct.
about we go to their physical CUME.
I send the reports directly to the school site administrators. Rich Rodriguez, our EL coordinator, sends the LPAC. So they have them. It's just, again, it's that one-stop shop that we're looking for, not this person has to go and pull this and this, you know, and then I have to, you know, spend hours downloading reports, and then sometimes you send them to principals and they're like, oh, I never got it. Yeah, I sent it. Oh, it's in my email somewhere. I'll send it, you know, whereas you could just pull it up on EduClimber, it'd be right there, right? You wouldn't have to, so.
Yeah.
No one will be happier than the secretaries. No one will be happier than the school
think Jeff and
secretaries
Catherine will be
because
pretty happy
they
too.
are the ones that are being inundated with questions and can you pull this for me? Can you pull that for me? So, I mean,
And
the
it's great that you're
secretaries-
going to have Jen Hoskins, because she
It's
is
another-
a data queen. I mean, she does really good reporting over the years when I've worked with her before. She's always been really on top of pulling out data for students, so that she's going to be part of your roll
Yeah,
out
she's
this.
our Bliss instructional coach, so.
Yeah, so that'll be awesome because she knows exactly what the teachers need to see in order to make those decisions and set up the different programs. So that's wonderful to hear. Thank you. Well, she's going to be in the Bliss program, so they'll be able to
She'll be
really use her
supporting all the
expertise.
Bliss teachers, yeah, this summer,
Yeah.
so.
So that'll be a really good indicator, which her feedback will be important and to how accessible this is
Exactly.
and usable this is.
Yeah, but we
'Cause
don't
she
want to give
knows.
up. I think we can still get that meeting with Synergy and EduClimber
Yeah, don't give up.
together.
Stay determined.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to bring this informational item to a close, please.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you for the great questions. I think Catherine and Jeff, you got a lot of great feedback from the board as to what they're looking for. And we would love to see a launch date. But if you do the pilot in the summer, please keep us posted and let us know. Because at some point, you can only do so much, then you have to have Plan B. Maybe EduClimber is where we want to be, but if it's not working out, we have to rethink. You don't want to waste 3 years of your life or 5 years and find it out not working out. So anyway, it's just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
We can call them. We can call them for you. Anyway, district business, the next three.
Before we move on to
Yes.
district business, may I just make a mention, because it is 9:28. My suggestion would be that we continue on these 3 district business items, but that if, and you guys can talk about it, but we table the bond discussion till the May 20th. Unless,
The item,
item 13.
the discussion, operations. What do you guys think? Well, but if you need, I think, maintenance and operations, there's some, you need approval for moving forward with.
It wasn't, it was just a discussion.
Okay.
I mean, either that, or you could vote to extend the meeting to a certain time, but
Well, the 3 items that we're voting on for school plan for student
yes,
achievement.
those should be fairly
That's an
quick.
action item.
Yep.
I can take a motion for, I need a motion for approval.
Yep.
Second, I'm sure no more questions, you don't have any questions or discussions? All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. Second is the math adoption. We've heard the presentation. Another action item, I need a motion for approval. Okay, we got Karen and Frank. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. The third item on the agenda is the termination leases, for the Taylor parking lot.
CBO Paulette, introduce this item, please.
Is now at work.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. So this project started before Superintendent Hickey and I were even here. It's all the way back in March 28, 2023. This is the Taylor Middle School parking lot remodel project. So this is just the lease back. This is pre-construction project only, is not the project itself. When I arrived to Millbrae in January, I met with them, and I've learned that the estimate, the cost was humongous. And as Superintendent Hickey and I reviewed the facility master plan, this project is no longer on the priority list. So there's no point of us bringing to you for any further discussion, except we work with DWK to terminate the project, the project that has been. Exactly, so that's.
So the proposal that they made for the amount of money, we're gonna cancel that. But we are gonna do upgrades to the parking lot, but not that specific plan that they came up with, right?
As of right now, the remodeling of the middle school, Taylor Middle School, is not part of the priority on the master plan. And so we just end
This
this
one,
lease back. And whatever it is that the board wanted to do in the future, that entirely different, it has nothing to do
Do-
with this project.
Okay. So you need
So
us.
we did want to put an end,
Okay.
you know, like a closed loop to the project.
We need a motion to approve this agreement to terminate the
To
lease.
approve the resolution, 242510, and authorize the termination agreement.
Need a second? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries. So due to time, it's 9:30. How about we spend 5-10 minutes on this
Yeah, I mean,
topic?
maybe
And then we
what-
can just.
What I might suggest is someone make a motion to extend the meeting time, and I would actually put an end time, maybe 9:45, and then we can go until then, and then we'll bring it back on May 20th also for discussion, so we could start.
So what is the, I mean, give it just,
motion to extend the meeting till 9:45.
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye. Okay. Oh, I didn't realize there was a limit to our meetings.
Typically, that is what is supposed to happen.
All right, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. Okay, we extended the meeting till 9:45. Okay, maintenance and operations, there's a couple of few things on there.
Yeah,
hand it
I'll
over to-
start, Ms. CBO Paulette and I will tag team on this. We just wanted to have a couple of discussions and give you some updates. First of all, let's start with our bond manager. We did post the position. We did a first round of interviews. Unfortunately, we did not feel there was someone qualified to move forward. We did repost it again. I think our director of HR, Claudia Buttigieg, said there's 2 applicants, and so we were trying to set up interviews for next week. Still not sure that there will be someone qualified to move on. So I think that's one discussion is then at that point, do we kind of move forward with a RFP for a bond manager? And I'll kind of put this all out together. Also a discussion, and we don't have to discuss all these tonight, but putting out a request for quotes, RFQ, for a pool of architects. So this isn't just to choose one architect, but to determine qualified architects that we can draw from for future projects. And then the third, supporting documents, there's 2 kind of projects that we have been kind of researching a little bit. One is for just tree maintenance overall, and I think Rudy has provided the board with a couple of different quotes. So we've attached one from Brightview and one from Professional Tree Care Company. This is to be discussed for, possible summer project. And then we have received one quote from Turonis Architecture for the fencing projects at Spring Valley and Meadows and Green Hills. Now, and I guess kind of want direction from the board in terms of what we want to do. I think there's 2 options. We can either get another quote from a separate architect because it does stay under that threshold of the $75,000. Of course, for the work, we would have to go out for an RFP for the work. But for the architect, we could just get another quote and try to move forward. Or if you wanted to go for the request for RFQ for a pool of architects, we could kind of go that way. It just kind of delay everything a little. I think the fencing project seems like something that could be done in the summer, but that does involve quite a bit of DSA and an architect. So I guess first, maybe let's start with trees. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I do think there's 2 kind of quotes. I think there was, in general, some tree maintenance. There was some discussion also about Green Hills eucalyptus. I don't disagree that, especially when it's storming, we kind of go up there and, it feels like a safety issue. I do wonder, just a wondering though, with some of our community and eucalyptus, if we want to just be a little careful in terms of, do we want to do any community outreach specifically? I think there's a difference between general maintenance of trees and potentially like completely clearing Green Hills eucalyptus without maybe a little bit more thought. So I think there's 2 separate things to kind of think about when it comes to trees.
Well, they both are talking about having removal of the eucalyptus trees.
One has,
What?
Oh, Sorry.
Wait, hold on.
I'm sorry.
She's not done. Are you done?
No, I didn't ask for.
Go ahead. No, it's okay. No, we'll just get it at this. Go ahead, finish.
So I noticed that there's two quotes for the removal of eucalyptus trees. The one from Professional Tree Care Company, it just says all eucalyptus trees on the north side of the ball field and grind the stumps. But I do agree that that's going to be a major change in the way that street looks if you take out all of the trees on that.
Yeah, actually, now that I'm looking at the quotes that we uploaded, it looks like we just uploaded the eucalyptus trees. I do think that there's a different quote from Brightview.
Oh, okay.
So maybe we need to come back to you on that. There was a different quote from Brightview that was just general, hey, this is an overview and assessment of all the tree work that needs to be done that did not include the eucalyptus. So perhaps what we did was just, we went back to Brightview and said, hey, can you include the eucalyptus? So I think maybe what we uploaded was just the eucalyptus part. So what we'll do is in the weekly, I don't think it needs to be, I think it can wait till the 20th. I just want to put it out there. If we do in the summer, what we'll do is we'll resend you the quote that was the general.
Okay.
Tree maintenance, not specific, but it would be interesting to just kind of hear thoughts on eucalyptus in general.
Well, I know from having eucalyptus trees in my home and having them removed, eucalyptus trees are very dangerous because they have such shallow roots and they do tend to really make a lot of noise in the wind, and we get some big winds here in Millbrae. I'm just really worried about how that street's gonna look if you take out all of those eucalyptus trees. I'm not saying that they don't need to go because I don't think they're a good match for Millbrae with the winds and the shallow roots. I do think they're a hazard. I'm just concerned that we'd have to put something back. I don't think we can leave it just completely bare because I really think that would change the way that whole area looks. And I think neighbors might be a little upset with us.
I'd have to do a field trip, and I have not done that. So I see the pictures here, but I have to drive by to take a look at what we're talking about.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, make sure to pay
Okay, you had
attention on your
something
way
to
to
say?
the Rotary luncheon.
Yeah, go ahead.
Luncheon. There you go.
Go ahead.
So I had a problem. Reading the agenda, the whole agenda, I had one problem, and that was with the trees. The reason why is the proposal is so vague that if, all I could see reading it is a lot of change orders coming up. Because if this happens, it could be a change order. That happens, it could be a change order. And so it's really a vague proposal for any contractor to do
So
it.
I agree with the eucalyptus, and Rudy was not able to join us, but he just texted me to say that we would work with the city in replanting. Sounds like the eucalyptus maybe needs some more discussion. I do know that that first proposal for just general tree work was pretty comprehensive. That said, I think that was mostly from Brightview. So we'll get more information to you and we'll bring that back on the 20th. But I do think we may want to be a little bit more thoughtful if anyone else has thoughts on eucalyptus before we just kind of move forward.
I do. Do you have any? Well, I noticed we got a quote from the Professional Tree Care Company that was about $50,000, $45,000 less than Brightview or Bright Tree, whatever it's called, Brightview Tree. Did we have Professional Tree Care do a quote for the general maintenance? I remember seeing one for general maintenance from Brightview, but since they are significantly less, I'm curious as to whether or not they would offer a better price for the maintenance. The other thing is the city went through this process of removing probably more trees than we're talking about here, all along the spur trail and all along Millbrae Avenue, bordering the high school. And when it went down, I was like, whoa. But it really was a safety issue because if anybody was walking on any of those trails and kids who go and use those paths, it was a really dangerous place. And they did replant. I don't know what their process was, but it may be worth a quick call to see what they did and how they kind of worked with the community. I don't remember or recall them ever asking, but perhaps they did and we just missed it. But I do remember it was pretty drastic.
Okay, so yes, the answer from Rudy texting me, he's watching at home, is that, yes, we do have a proposal. So what we will do is we'll send you those, we will upload those two quotes onto the 20th, and then we can go from there on the trees, if that's okay. Okay?
That's fine.
I think what happened was then we kind of separated, it was general, then we kind of went back on eucalyptus, and so we just got them a little mixed up because we had.
So what about the landscaper being more comprehensive with his proposal? Because we all know that eucalyptus trees, when you start to cut them, you cut them down, there's roots underneath. And so that's what I see here is a lot of roots. If they cut a tree down, the roots are going all the way up the sidewalk. And so what are they going to do with the roots? Well, there comes a change order. So
Okay.
I'd like to see a more comprehensive proposal if we're going to do anything with trees, because the roots will just knock you under the ground.
Yep, and I think that this add-on was, quite extensive, the eucalyptus tree, but I will say that I know looking back at that original Bright View, and actually Rudy said he's still waiting on one more site for professional tree, so hopefully by the 20th, we can get you both of them. I do know that the Bright View, and it wasn't full removal of a lot of the trees, there might have been one or two, but not as extensive as 15 trees. That was a pretty comprehensive proposal, so I remember it being super long, so we'll send that to you, and we'll move forward with that.
Okay.
I guess for the fence, for the bond manager, are you okay with just knowing that we'll hold the interviews of these two candidates, then we'll report back to you, and then if we don't hire, then I think we need to kind of move forward with the RFP for bond manager.
That's fine, but I mean, that works. But I think moving forward, whether we get hire a company, whatever, but I think the next few years when we're trying to do Lumita Park and all these projects, I think Rudy's going to need a person, an assistant, someone to help him through all this. Doing his regular job and working on bond projects is just too much for him. And I think someone for a temporary position or an assistant to help him manage all of that, because doing it by himself and managing his team is a little bit too much, and I think he just.
Right, and I think we all agreed on that. I think the question is whether or not we could just direct hire.
Yes.
And if we aren't able to direct hire, that's why we would actually go out for a request for proposal, and we would contract out for that position. So I think my understanding is that the board was all in agreement that we need to move forward with the position, but just how we were going about it, and I think the direction we got was that we would attempt to host and hire on our own. If not, we would move forward with contracting.
Okay, due to time, we got 1 minute before we have to.
I guess the last thing is just the Toronis architecture for the fencing. So you have maybe kind of just two thoughts. So we could either get another quote from an architect and kind of move forward with the fencing project, or we could kind of move forward with a request for quotes for an architect pool, just knowing that in general that it will delay it, right? Because if we won't go through that process first.
Quick question. So the fencing, is that equal to one access to each school?
Yes, the idea is the single point of entry.
single point of
And again, we are just looking at Spring Valley, Green Hills and Meadows. Taylor, we might look at little projects, but because it's a large middle school, having a single point of entry isn't really realistic. And Lomita, since we're doing a rebuild, we're not going to work on that at that point. Yeah. We'll do that when we do the whole rebuild.
I'd love to see a photo of what it would look like.
Yeah.
Because we went through this before with fencing our schools, and it looked like we didn't want it to look like a lockdown, like a prison.
Yeah, I mean, I think I hear you, and yet until we move forward with an architect, you can't really
Yes.
see renderings.
Okay, I'm going to leave it up to you and Rudy and kind of figure out what is the best scenario, and then bring it back to us next meeting for approval.
Well, what is an architect pool? I'm not sure. I think she's looking for direction on an architect, this one, or an architect pool, and I don't know what an architect pool is.
Well,
I'll have
go
Mary
ahead.
explain that.
So the process to go through to select is that we work with the DWK right now We have document to send out, and whoever wanted to join, we will interview them. Could be 10, whatever. And then we can choose as many as we feel fit, which means we, in a way, we get to select a group, but it costs us nothing. And then from that group, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is that the interview panel decided to choose. So we know what the master plan is right now. We know the board direction in some of the priorities right now. We keep that in the back of our mind when we select the pool to make sure that we select those people that can be our future group that work on one of those projects. So fencing, we can tap, whatever it is, we can send it out to those people that we already select. Rather than right now, we don't know who to send to, we just sent out random. Then we have, each one, we have to go through that selection individually, right? So it's a lot of work. Instead, we do the architect pool selection first so that we get a selected few. And then each project that we have, we send it to them, and they will go through and they do the bidding. And whoever we wanted to
They would
select
also
it
give
from.
us their pricing structure. So it's not, right, this is different from, hey, we're giving you a quote for an actual project. They would kind of like share kind of what they have to offer. They would share their kind of fee structure. So then when we go from that, we kind of have that in writing a little bit. So I think that's the advantage. I think we should move forward with that in general because we're going to have multiple projects. I think the question is, for the fencing, do you want us to kind of slow down, do the architect pool first? Well, I think, obviously I would, no, DTA already gave us, they did a walkthrough with us and they gave us a quote, right? Obviously, we wouldn't move forward unless we had at least one more quote. But we could either get another quote or we can kind of slow down, do an architect pool.
And then we had more selection.
Yeah, I think I like the pool idea.
Okay, so then slowing it down and realizing like that's, well, even if we just say we move forward with Toronis, it wouldn't happen this summer. It's just too close, so,
But,
yeah.
but fencing is not like, you can, the school, you can install a fence on weekends or time. That's,
You can,
So
I mean,
doesn't-
it certainly could happen over
it could
break.
happen over breaks, it could happen anytime
But
throughout the year.
That
It's
being
not like a
said,
big,
it
bigger
still
project.
does need to go through DSA approval, so I mean, it's an architect and DSA, so it's more involved than I think I initially thought, but I'm learning all these new things.
And how much longer are we talking about a delay? Like months or a year?
No, I mean, I think it's possible that we might be able to, if you look at it, Spring Valley is actually the easiest single point of entry, and I think it's because their whole wing is in front of that building. Meadows and Green Hills, Meadows is probably the most involved.
Yep.
Green Hills is about in the middle, right, when we look at that. So I do think that we could probably, I don't know about all of them, I do see like over winter break, probably doing one of the schools.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of where I'm being realistic. I think if we did a whole architect and then we kind of move forward, I could see, I know, I will say that the Spring Valley community, I hear from the most in terms of the single point of entry. I don't know if that's just because it's on Murchison, I'm not sure, but that is where I hear the most comments, not only from the parent community, but also from the staff.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. 9:50. All right, well, we're done.
Somebody
Possible
keeping
future,
time.
possible future agenda items, anything? No. All right, thank you
We've
for.
been trying to check them off the list, that's why we have
I know. Yes. Thank you for, it took longer than we expected. Thank you, staff, for being here so late. Meeting adjourned.